Chapter 1146. There was no such thing as reason in the Black Sea. The weak would never gain sympathy. Bang! The newcomer was somewhat surprised. Under the pressure of his strong aura, the other party, a newly advanced great perfection blue-robed emperor, did not choose to retreat. The newcomer's lips curled up in a cruel smile as he said coldly, "You are like a mantis trying to stop a chariot." Cram! The newcomer also sent out a palm strike. Flames soared and formed many flaming mountains behind him. A total of 18 flaming mountains appeared in an instant. The blazing air burned everyone's skin, forcing the cultivators watching to move back another kilometer. A few cultivators with low cultivations even had their eyebrows and hair set ablaze. This showed how horrifying the might of this palm strike was. How startling would the power of 18 flaming mountains be when they erupted together? When the cultivators saw this newcomer's appearance clearly, they all exclaimed. Clearly, they recognized this person and were extremely surprised at his appearance. On the other hand, Xiao Chen's palm strike looked ordinary, without any wind or waves, without any shocking mysterious phenomenon. Upon seeing this scene, several cultivators shook their heads. This white-clad youth was probably going to suffer. Only Yu Bingyun knew that Xiao Chen had not used his full power yet. If he really did, his aura would suppress the newcomer in an instant. Boom! The moment the two palms collided, an earth-shattering sound rang out, and the surrounding void distorted. The 18 flaming mountains erupted at the same time, rumbling endlessly. Overwhelming heat waves spread out in all directions. The flames twisted into all sorts of shapes in the twisted space, preventing the cultivators in the surroundings from seeing the situation clearly. However, it did not matter to them whether they could see or not. Not many people believed that this white-clad youth could block under such circumstances. With such a horrifying palm strike, even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. This was the consequence of blind arrogance. Sometimes, one had to acknowledge one's grandson. Youths should not be too sharp. After suffering some grievances, they would not be able to suppress their temper. The scene before them was the best example. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Suddenly, the crisp hum of a saber rang out in the space distorted by the flames. It was like a string of pleasant zither music resounding in the surroundings. The torrential heatwave was slowly swept clean by this zither-like saber hum. The distorted space regained its tranquility and the flames disappeared, allowing everyone to see the situation on the other side clearly. When the two palms clashed, they were actually evenly matched. Xiao Chen, who did not use any martial techniques, did not take even half a step back from the force of his opponent's palm strike. The two of them still maintained the posture of their palms colliding. Under the powerful pressure, Xiao Chen's body remained as straight as a mountain. His white robe was untainted by a speck of dust. His hair danced in the wind like the strings of a zither, playing a murderous intent. Everyone was shocked. No one spoke, they were all dumbfounded. Even the person in charge of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion could not help but be moved. It was not because of the incredible combat prowess that Xiao Chen displayed. Instead, it was because such a martial technique was unheard of and unseen before. Unexpectedly, a person turned his clothes, his hair, every part of himself into a saber. Where did this white-robed person come from? He is the descendant of the Black Sea's great bandit Jiang Heng. Unexpectedly, he could not knock him back with one palm strike. Furthermore, I have never seen anyone use this martial technique before. How did he do it? There are sabers everywhere. This is simply miraculous. I have never heard of it before. Since ancient times, no one has ever done it like this. This is a completely different situation. It is truly miraculous. There are thousands of saber daos, but I have never seen such a saber dao before. Strange voices rang out. Everyone found this incredible, subverting the logic they knew. Yu Bingyun did not dare to be surprised. However, when she heard the youth's identity, she looked over in surprise. This arrogant youth was actually Jiang Feng, the descendant of Jiang Heng, one of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea. Jiang Heng ranked third among the 13 great bandits, an extremely strong sovereign martial emperor. He was known as the Flame Sovereign. He moved unhindered throughout the Black Sea's 5 great seas, a major character without a doubt. His strength was overwhelming and unfathomable. Shock flashed on Jiang Feng's face. He had not expected to run into such a ruthless character in this black water city. Even in Dark City, where outstanding talents abounded, there would not be more than 10 people who dared to receive the blue-robed emperor's flame palm without using a martial technique. Unexpectedly, such a person appeared in Black Water City. Furthermore, this was a young outstanding talent about the same age as Jiang Feng. You are somewhat capable. However, this is all you are capable of. Before me, it is not enough. Back off. Jiang Feng shouted ferociously, and a ring of black flames soared up from his body. His aura soared infinitely. The power of the world in the surroundings surged and turned into an endless torrent of fiery energy. Like waves, it flowed along Jiang Feng's palm and surged towards Shaochen. Several of the people across Shaochen could feel the waves of fiery energy, each stronger than the one before. As the heat wave assaulted them, they had no choice but to retreat. Shaochen did not move, letting the heat wave assault him as it pleased. He did not show any intention of retreating. In Shaochen's sea of consciousness, his saber soul and will of thunder merged. With a thought, they immediately erupted. Purple lightning leaped out of Shaochen's body. Every bolt of lightning contained an incredibly sharp saber intent. The lightning and saber intent merged perfectly. The other party's waves of fiery energy, each stronger than the one before, continued to erupt endlessly. Shaochen only used his lightning saber soul and his flawless saber Dao to block the other party's surging waves of fiery energy. Shaochen had yet to use several of his trump cards. Time slowly passed. Everyone discovered that something was wrong with the atmosphere. It was just a simple exchange of palm strikes, but the two actually fought to such an extent. The Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion's manager frowned slightly. If this continued, both sides would end up with severe injuries. That would be extremely disadvantageous to the auction. At the same time, a soft voice rang out in the manager's ears. That was the person behind the scenes of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion, wanting him to make a move and end this fight. Without hesitation, this person threw a palm strike. The palm wind split into two and charged at Shaochen and Jiang Feng. Given the blue-robed emperor's cultivation at consummation, the two fighting would have to retreat even if they did not want to. Jiang Feng cursed. However, he could not do anything. At this moment, he simply could not afford to split his attention to receive this palm strike. Jiang Feng's figure flashed. When the palm wind arrived, he retreated. He spun a few times in the air before he found his footing. The Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion's manager smiled in satisfaction. However, before his smile could fade, he saw that Shaochen did not retreat at all. Shaochen suddenly raised his left hand, which had been hanging by his side. Then, a nimble bright moon appeared behind him, burning fiercely like a flame. It depicted lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness. When Shaochen sent out this palm strike, it made one's heart surge and blood surge. It was like drinking strong wine, feeling carefree and carefree. Unexpectedly, Shaochen broke the palm wind that the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion's manager sent out with the cultivation of a consummation blue-robed emperor. One had to know that Shaochen had just finished fighting to the death with Jiang Feng. He did not have any time to turn around or rest. Instead, he raised his hand and broke the manager's attack. Such a scene caused many people to stare blankly. One retreated quickly, and the other did not move even half a step. It was clear who came out on top between Shaochen and Jiang Feng. The strong wind stopped and Shaochen's clothes and hair fell back. The saber hum lingering in the air also stopped. Shaochen stood upright with his hands behind his back. His delicate face exuded an indescribable pride. "You are very lucky. That earlier palm strike was originally meant for you," Xiao Chen said coldly to Jiang Feng, who was hovering in the air. Xiao Chen said coldly to Jiang Feng, who was hovering in the air. Then, he turned around and ignored him, heading for the metal puppet. Bang! Xiao Chen said coldly to the hovering Jiang Feng. Then, he turned around and walked towards the metal statue, ignoring him. The explosion was like thunder roaring, startling the surrounding cultivators back to their senses. They all looked at the stone tablet curiously. They wanted to see what kind of result this mysterious man in white could achieve. They all looked at the stone steel curiously, wanting to see what kind of result this mysterious white-clad person could achieve. The first row lit up in an instant, the second row lit up in a breath's time, and the third row took 3 seconds to light up. The first row lit up instantly. The second row lit up in 1 breath. The third row took 3 seconds to light up the 10 gems. If there were no surprises, Xiao Chen should be able to light up the 10 gems in the 5th row. This was the limit of a peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. As for the gems in the 6th row, only a consummation blue-robed emperor, a cultivator who merged his soul with the heavenly seal, could successfully light them up. Without exception, all the cultivators who lit up the gems in the 6th row were consummation blue-robed emperors. The gems in the 5th row lit up slowly, one by one. To everyone's surprise, all 10 gems lit up. Indeed, a newly advanced great perfection blue-robed emperor already has the combat prowess of a peak great perfection blue-robed emperor. No wonder he can defeat Jiang Feng. This is an expert. I have never heard of him in the Black Water Sea. I have never heard of him in the nearby Black Wind Sea or the Black Water Sea. He should be from another sea region. As the crowd discussed in low voices, one of the eye-catching purple gems in the 6th row suddenly lit up silently. The surroundings fell silent. Everyone gaped, somewhat speechless. They could not believe the scene before them. After a while, they confirmed it. Startled cries rang out, and the crowd went into an uproar. A great perfection blue-robed emperor actually burst out with a strength that only a consummation blue-robed emperor could achieve. How startling was this! However, Xiao Chen, who stood in front of the metal puppet, frowned slightly, feeling dissatisfied. He had used his full power in that earlier punch. Aside from not using his saber or a secret technique to increase his explosive power, he had not held anything back. Unexpectedly, only 1 purple gem in the 6th row lit up. The difference in strength between Xiao Chen and the consummation blue-robed emperor was still obvious. Even if Xiao Chen used a secret technique, he would only light up 3 more gems, bringing the total to 4. If Xiao Chen ran into the slightly more powerful consummation blue-robed emperor, his strength would still pale in comparison. "Young man, you are pretty strong. Here, these are the tickets to the VIP rooms on the 6th floor." Chapter 1147. The person in charge next to the stone tablet smiled slightly and handed a golden ticket to Xiao Chen. He continued, "I have been standing here for a whole day. You are the first young martial artist to light up the 6th row of gems. Moreover, you are only at the level of great accomplishment blue-robed emperor. You have unlimited potential. I'm sure you'll be able to find treasures that interest you in the auction and dig out your potential." Xiao Chen took the gold card and glanced at it. He smiled casually and said, "Thank you for your auspicious words, senior." Seeing that Xiao Chen was not arrogant in the slightest, the supervisor nodded inwardly, and his evaluation of Xiao Chen rose by another level. Xiao Chen turned his head and said goodbye to Yu Bingyun. Then, he indicated that he would take his leave first. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and sent a voice projection to meet up after the auction. Jiang Feng, who was hovering in the air, trembled in anger as he watched Xiao Chen walk towards the doors of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion before the envious gazes of many cultivators. As the descendant of the Black Sea's great bandit Jiang Heng, he spent most of his time in the Black Sea's largest sea region, the Dark Sea. Wherever he went, he would be the center of attention. Aside from a few outstanding young talents who were so strong that Xiao Chen could not do anything about them, no one in the same generation dared to be so arrogant before him. After winning by just half a move, the other party chose to ignore him. Furthermore, it was in a small place like Black Water City. Cursing angrily, Jiang Heng landed in front of the Iron Man. His whole body was like smoke, rushing up and kicking the Iron Man. Light flickered on the stone steel as the gems lit up continuously. He also lit up the 6th row of purple gems, and 2 of them, one more than Xiao Chen. A look of pride flashed across Jiang Feng's face. Compared to me, you are still a little weaker. I have a secret technique passed down by the Jiang clan. The power he could unleash was already comparable to that of the great perfection blue-robed emperor. Don't give me a chance to catch you alone. With a fling of his sleeves, Jiang Feng received the golden ticket and quickly walked over. Incredible! He truly lives up to being a descendant of a sovereign martial emperor. This Jiang Feng's explosive power is really startling. He used a secret technique. The Flame King has a secret technique called the Wolf Smoke Art. Once it's used, the blood vessels in the entire body will boil, and essence energy will spurt out like smoke. It can be seen from 5 kilometers away, and its explosive power is extremely shocking. It's said that when the wolf smoke art is cultivated to the highest level, it can even ignite one's own bloodline. Combined with the Jiang clan's flame cultivation technique, it can increase one's explosive power by several times. Speaking of which, this Jiang Feng has always been in Dark City. Why did he come to our Black Water City? He's probably just passing by. Hee, but he definitely didn't expect that he would lose to a Black Water City's advanced blue-robed emperor in front of everyone. When Jiang Feng, who was already walking up the stairs, heard these discussions, the killing intent in his eyes grew even stronger. He clenched his right hand into a fist, and his bones crackled. Hu Qi. As soon as Jiang Feng left, another person came in. He looked to be in his 40s or 50s and had an extraordinary bearing. He was dressed luxuriously and wore a priceless jade ring on his thumb. 10 odd servants followed behind him. They walked over with their heads held high and chests puffed up. Their group was very grand and impressive. When Yu Bingyun saw this person, a strange light immediately flashed in her eyes. This middle-aged man was none other than the current manor lord of the Jadeite Mountain Manor, Fei Lingyi. Fei Lingyi's cultivation was rather horrifying. Even so, when he walked over, he did not release any aura at all. However, he still put a formless pressure on everyone. This made it hard for people to breathe and suppress their hearts, not daring to look him in the eye. The person in charge of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion was clearly familiar with Fei Lingyi. He took the initiative to greet Fei Lingyi and give him a purple gold ticket. That was the most distinguished seat in the auction house. Only after lighting up all 10 purple gems on the 6th row could one qualify to obtain it. Fei Lingyi received the purple gold ticket and smiled. Senior Ma is too polite. However, we still cannot break the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion's rules. After saying that, Fei Lingyi shifted his gaze and focused on the metal puppet at the side. A startling aura suddenly erupted from Fei Lingyi's body. The berserk aura knocked some people back in time and knocked them into the air. Bang! The stone steel gave off a bright light, lighting up all 60 gems on the 6th row in one go. The sight of it was very startling. Fei Lingyi withdrew his aura and shook his head. It still won't do. Indeed, only Emperor Wu can light up the golden gems on the 7th row. Even though my strength is already no weaker than that of a small perfection Emperor Wu's, without condensing a heart of an emperor, the difference will forever be a difference. Such an aura was even more ferocious than that of the consummation blue-robed emperors from earlier. The 60 gems lit up at the same time, not pausing at all. Everyone was shocked at how strong Fei Lingyi was. In reality, this Fei Lingyi was indeed far stronger than some of the consummation blue-robed emperors. This was because the other consummation blue-robed emperors had not undergone their great tribulation of wind and fire. However, failing he had. Although he failed, he was fortunate enough not to die. After he survived, his strength increased significantly. When one underwent the great tribulation of wind and fire, there was a slim chance of survival. Once one succeeded, one could ascend to emperor and look down on everyone, becoming a true peak character of this world. However, there were also some people who didn't succeed in overcoming their tribulations. However, they were lucky enough to survive, allowing their strength to increase once again. Such people were known as half-step Emperor Wu, also known as false Emperor Wu. The power of the world that they could drive was already no weaker than that of a small perfection blue-robed emperor. However, they did not have a heart of an emperor, so they were always half a step short. Furthermore, after undergoing the tribulation once, there would be no second chance. That was to say, while this Feilingi looked strong now, he would never have a chance to take that half-step to Emperor Wu in this lifetime. As Yu Bingyun watched Feilingi enter the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion, a smile slowly appeared on her face. This person finally arrived. If Yu Bingyun had not come, there would have been a 30% chance of him advancing the Heavenly Cloud Jadeite sword to a transcendent divine weapon. However, once he arrived, according to the plan, Feilingi would have no chance at all, destined to fail. The divine weapon, the Heavenly Cloud Jadeite sword, would be reduced to a pile of scrap metal. The Lunar Palace's startling Phoenix Qin would also be able to remain on the divine weapon ranking. Yu Bingyun had successfully completed her mission. Inside the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion was an exquisite and elegant hall. The interior was a ring-shaped building with 7 floors. After Xiao Chun handed over his golden ticket, an attendant led him to a large, luxurious private room on the ring-shaped 6th floor. The private room setup was very interesting. The Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion had no intention of protecting the privacy of the customers. The windows were open to the air. Not only the owners of the private rooms on the opposite floors, but also the customers in the hall could see each other. The hall was already filled with many cultivators. These were all small perfection blue-robed emperors who did not get a private room. There were about 1,000 of them. At first glance, 1,000 small perfection blue-robed emperors seemed like a lot. However, when one thought about it carefully, just the local cultivators in Blackwater City numbered more than 100 million. Furthermore, there were many blue-robed emperors from other sea regions who came for experiential training. It would not be an exaggeration for 1,000 small perfection blue-robed emperors to gather together. If one included those blue-robed emperors who were still adventuring in the various remnants and did not have time to come, there would be even more. This was the first time Xiao Chun saw so many blue-robed emperors gathered together. He could not help but sigh in his heart. Sometimes, only when one's strength reached a certain level could one officially enter a circle of a certain level. If it were in the past, Xiao Chun would not have even heard of an auction of this scale. To him, this was like a legend. Now, Xiao Chun had gone from a minor character when he first entered the Kunlun realm to a VIP private room in a blue-robed emperor-level auction. As he looked down on the group of older generation blue-robed emperors, he enjoyed the glory of being in a superior position. Something that he did not even dare to imagine back then happened to him. However, he felt strangely calm, not feeling too proud or satisfied. I wonder, what kind of scene will a Emperor Wu level auction and gathering be like? Xiao Chun picked up the wine cup on the table and gently swirled it for a while. Then, he drank it in one gulp, feeling boundless anticipation in his heart. The auction would officially start only after sunset. Right now, it was still some time before sunset. Since he had nothing to do, Xiao Chun picked up the auction list on the table and carefully looked through it. It is indeed a blue-robed emperor-level auction. The things being auctioned here are really exciting. To think that there is even a divine weapon. Xiao Chen's gaze moved around the list, searching for his target. Coincidentally, he saw a divine weapon being auctioned. It was a treasure sword with a starting bid of 20 million black astral coins. Aside from a consummation blue-robed emperor, a regular blue-robed emperor would not be able to afford such a price. As a saber user, Xiao Chen naturally did not dare to be interested in this. As he continued to look, a medicinal pill attracted his attention. The source-returning pill could instantly recover one's heavenly laws, which was equivalent to doubling one's law energy. To people like Xiao Chen, who did not have as much law energy as a consummation blue-robed emperor, this medicinal pill held a great attraction. When one ran out of law energy, one could consume an internal source-returning pill and immediately regain combat prowess. In times of danger, one would be able to survive. Xiao Chen had heard of this medicinal pill before. The ingredients were extremely difficult to gather, and the success rate was very low. It was extremely rare among king-grade medicinal pills. There were 5 medicinal pills in this bottle, and the starting bid was 1 million black astral coins. Xiao Chen estimated that, given the value of this medicinal pill, the final bid would be 3 or 4 times higher. After looking through the list, Xiao Chen discovered that many of the auction items did not have a detailed introduction. They did not even have a name. This was probably to maintain a sense of mystery. Only when the auction officially started would there be a grand introduction. Aside from the source-returning pill, which Xiao Chen paid special attention to, there were a few other treasures that he marked as well. As long as the price was not too ridiculous, he would bid for them. Xiao Chen was filled with anticipation for these mysterious auction items, hoping that they would give him a pleasant surprise. Strange, how could there be such a heavenly treasure being auctioned? Just as Xiao Chen was about to put down the list, Ao Jiao suddenly spoke up from the Immortal Spirit Ring. Xiao Chen took a look at the list and felt that he had not missed anything. He did not know which auction item Ao Jiao was referring to. Why didn't I notice that auction item? It is that heptagold origin. Heptagold is a peak divine material in the first place. Heptagold origin is even more pitifully rare. If heptagold origin is added to a divine weapon, the chances of breaking through to a transcendent divine weapon will double. Xiao Chen quickly looked over. After he saw the starting bid, he finally understood why he had not paid attention to it. This heptagold origin actually had a starting bid of only 10,000 black astral coins. Chapter 1148. Why is the reserve price so low? I nearly missed it. It doesn't matter. Even if the reserve price for such a divine item is 0, it will quickly reach 10 million black astral coins. I just find it strange that such an item appeared in the auction house. Why would someone with the ability to obtain such an item auction it? A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. He asked, "Little Ao Jiao, should we bid for this heptagold origin? If I succeed in breaking through to Emperor Wu, the lunar shadow saber will have to advance to a divine weapon." Ao Jiao, who was in the Immortal Spirit Ring, remained silent for a while. Then, she shook her head and said, "There's no need. I know where to find a heptagold origin. When you advance to consummation, Emperor Wu, I will bring you there. There is no need to rush the lunar shadow saber. If it does not advance to a divine weapon, then so be it. Once it does, it will definitely make it onto the divine weapon ranking." Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. He smiled and said, "There is such a place? Why did you not tell me about it?" Ao Jiao smiled and did not reply. She had to tell Xiao Chen the location of the Thunder King's inheritance. As for the Thunder King's final wish, that would depend on Xiao Chen's own choice. The most important thing now was to help Xiao Chen succeed in breaking through to Emperor Wu. Otherwise, everything would be for naught. The Thunder King probably did not want to see Xiao Chen become a meteor at such a young age, disappearing in a flash. Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought of something. With the heptagold origin here, that jadeite mountain manor's manor lord, Fei Lingyi, would definitely come. If Xiao Chen managed to obtain this heptagold origin, There was a 70 to 80% chance that the heavenly cloud jadeite sword would advance to a transcendent divine weapon. Xiao Chen frowned slightly when he felt an extremely strong aura. He looked up and saw a middle-aged man with an imposing appearance and an air of arrogance. He was escorted by a group of servants as he walked in with large strides. There was an uproar in the hall. Many lesser-tier blue-robed emperors stood up and greeted them. When Xiao Chen heard how this middle-aged man addressed him, he put down the list and revealed a faint smile. What a coincidence! I was just thinking about this Fei Lingyi when this fellow appeared. With this person around, Xiao Chen had a premonition that the heptagold origin would definitely be auctioned off for a sky-high price. Fortunately, Ao Jiao knew of a place with a heptagold origin. Otherwise, she would have to spend a lot of black astral coins to compete with this person. As more and more blue-robed emperors entered, the atmosphere in the hall became more and more lively. At the doors, Xiao Chen saw a familiar figure. An attendant led Yu Bingyun to the VIP room on the 5th floor. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. He wondered what kind of expression Yu Bingyun would have when she saw the heptagold origin on the auction list. If Fei Lingyi obtained this item and the heavenly cloud jadeite sword successfully became a transcendent divine weapon, her mission would be considered a complete failure. Wait, why does this feel somewhat strange? If Ao Jiao did not know that there were heptagold origins elsewhere, he would definitely try to obtain this heptagold origin at all costs. That would be equivalent to him helping Yu Bingyun. Furthermore, Yu Bingyun was the one who introduced him to this auction. Could it be a coincidence? That was not right. Yu Bingyun did not know that Xiao Chen obtained the Dragon's Gate treasure trove and did not think that his wealth was stronger than Fei Lingyi's. Given Yu Bingyun's cautious character, she absolutely would not place all her hopes on Xiao Chen. At this moment, in the private room, Yu Bingyun looked at the heptagold origin on the list and revealed a faint smile. No matter how Xiao Chen guessed, he could not guess what Yu Bingyun's plan was. Since she personally made a move, how could she let Fei Lingyi succeed? When the full moon hung high in the sky, the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion's blue-robed emperor-level auction started on time. On the auction stage, the person in charge of the auction, who had been standing outside earlier, walked up and performed a cupped fist salute. Then, after some pleasantries, he went straight to the point. This old man is Yang Yunfan. I will not make too many introductions. In the future, if anyone has any treasures to buy or auction, you can come and look for me at any time. Now the auction will begin. The first treasure is a pair of peak-quality king-grade gloves called the Fleeting Shadow Glove. Yang Yunfan spoke frankly with assurance, going straight to the point. He did not beat around the bush at all. Then, he continued, friends familiar with Emperor-grade secret treasures should know that even the most ordinary Emperor-grade secret treasure requires the cultivation of a small perfection Emperor Wu in order to bring out its full might. The secret treasure most suitable for the blue-robed Emperor is still a Peak King-grade secret treasure, which is also commonly known as Peak-quality King-grade secret treasures. Aside from increasing one's attack speed, the fleeting shadow gloves can also disperse a portion of the opponent's attack. The starting bid is 1 million black astral coins. Each bid must be no less than 100,000 black astral coins. After Xiao Chen heard the introduction, his eyes lit up. This pair of gloves was simply tailor-made for him. By increasing his attack speed, Xiao Chen could draw his saber even faster. The ability to disperse attacks could also improve the combat prowess of his fist and palm technique. There was probably no one else in the auction house like Xiao Chen. Since Xiao Chen was a bladesman, his fist and palm techniques could also surpass the others. 1,500,000, 165,000, 1,700,000, 2 million. There was no need to fear that no one would fight for a good item. The moment this pair of fleeting shadow gloves was put up for auction, it immediately became a hot topic. The price soared to 2 million black astral coins, nearly doubling in an instant. This flabbergasted Xiao Chen. There were really many rich people. In an instant, the price doubled. In reality, Xiao Chun did not know that it was rare for such an auction to happen. Many of the blue-robed emperors had already made preparations to save money before the auction started. Some even borrowed black astral coins from their friends in advance. The reason was none other than the fact that it became increasingly difficult to raise one's cultivation after reaching the blue-robed emperor realm. In a situation where everyone did not improve much, the effects of external items on combat prowess were magnified many times over. If one managed to find a suitable treasure, one could immediately raise one's combat prowess by 10 to 20%, equivalent to decades of bitter cultivation. With such a reason, it would be strange if the competition was not intense. Xiao Chun did not rush to call out a bid. He had participated in many auctions of various sizes before and had already grasped some of the technique. When one saw something that caught one's eye, there was no need to rush to call out a bid. One had to observe carefully to see who was chasing after it and figure out the other party's psychological price. Of course, this was under the condition that no one was messing around. If someone was purposely messing around, all techniques would be useless. In the end, one would still have to rely on wealth. After observing for a long time, when the price of the fleeting shadow gloves reached 3 million black astral coins, Xiao Chun called out a bid of 4 million black astral coins. Raising the price by 1 million black astral coins in one go immediately broke the psychological barrier of several people chasing after the fleeting shadow glove. This resulted in a temporary silence. If Xiao Chen's observation was right, the people who were truly chasing after this fleeting shadow gloves would not raise the price any further. He would successfully purchase this pair of gloves at the price of 4 million black astral coins. 5 million black astral coins! Just as everyone was silent, a cold and sinister voice called out a bid. Xiao Chen felt a murderous intent. He looked over and saw Jiang Feng in the private room across from him. Who is so rich? This is not worth it. This pair of gloves is worth at most 3 million black astral coins. It has already tripled. 4 million black astral coins is already a loss. 5 million black astral coins is really too much. It's Jiang Feng. He is competing with that white-robed bladesman. No wonder he lost face to the white-robed bladesman outside, and is trying to regain it here. This is not going to be easy. The white-robed bladesman probably will not be able to buy anything good. The Black Sea Great Bandit Jiang Heng is very wealthy. As his grandson, Jiang Feng has at least 20 to 30 million black astral coins. That is comparable to the consummation blue-robed emperor. Noisy discussions resounded. Many gazes looked at Xiao Chen with pity in their eyes. Dang! Jiang Feng placed the wine cup in his hand heavily on the table and wiped the wine off his lips with a handkerchief. Then, he looked provocatively at Xiao Chen and said coldly, "Let's see what you are going to use to compete with me." 10 million black astral coins. Xiao Chen ignored Jiang Feng's gaze and slowly called out a price that no one dared to believe. Pusi. Before Jiang Feng could swallow the wine in his mouth, he spat it out. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. The words, 10 million black astral coins, resounded in his ears. Damn! Is he crazy? My God! 10 million black astral coins. What kind of concept is that? Even some ordinary emperor-grade secret treasures are only worth 10 million black astral coins. However, the blue-robed emperor will not be able to bring out their full potential. Speechless. You really cannot compare yourself with others. Does he have that much money? He should. He should be very clear that he will not have a good ending if he dares to raise the price in the Heavenly Cauldron auction. I think Jiang Feng is going to cry. Just now, he wanted to use money to slap Jiang Feng's face. Who knew he got slapped so hard? This slap is really heavy. Haha. This is interesting. The young outstanding talent of the Black Sea is continuously getting slapped in the face in our Black Water Sea. He must be feeling very sullen. Bang! Jiang Feng slammed his palm heavily on the solid wood table, shattering it. He gritted his teeth in anger, wanting to call out a bid of 20 million black astral coins on impulse. However, he only had 20 million black astral coins on him. Furthermore, he still needed to use it to purchase a treasure that he had been interested in for a long time. He did not dare to call out such a price. 10 million black astral coins going once, going twice, going thrice. Good. No more bids. Sold. Yang Yunfan spoke in a rhythmic manner. Finally, he hammered down the hammer. The first auction was a success. The sky-high opening price was a good start. The smiling Yang Yunfan thought to himself, I have to make friends with that white-clad youth after this is over. His background is definitely not simple. Inside the booth, Xiao Chen slowly put down his wine cup. He continued to ignore Jiang Feng's murderous gaze, not bothering with him. There was no need to say much to such a person. Xiao Chen wanted to talk about the rules with him, but he did not follow them. He insisted on using his influence to force people, telling them to scram before the testing stone steel. Then, he was unreasonable during the auction, wanting to use his wealth to humiliate Xiao Chen. In that case, there was no need for Xiao Chen to care about Batu's face. If you want to fight, then fight. Let's see who will have the last laugh. Xiao Chen has more than 100 million black astral coins on him. Aside from the Jadeite Mountain Manor's Manor Lord and a few other older generation people, there were not many people in the entire auction hall that Xiao Chen feared in terms of wealth. Up in the booth on the 7th floor, Fei Lingyi revealed some doubt on his arrogant face as he watched the commotion below. He waved his hand and instructed, investigate this person's background and see if he will be a threat to my auction of the heptagold origin. After a pause, Fei Lingyi said, let him know in advance. Tell him to be sensible and not act rashly. This heptagold origin is very important. Nothing can go wrong. 2 old men in the booth immediately left to carry out the order and disappeared. Chapter 1149. As Fei Lingyi held the list and looked at the heptagold origin, a dazzling light appeared in his eyes. The appearance of this heptagold origin was truly the heavens helping him. It would be hard for the heavenly cloud jadeite sword not to become a transcendent divine weapon. Manor Lord, what if that person does not listen to us? After all, he even dared to slap Jiang Feng's face ruthlessly. A person at the side asked somewhat uncertainly. Fei Lingyi put down the list and rubbed the jadeite ring on his thumb with his right hand. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he smiled and said, that's good. That will save us some money. Inside the private room, Xiao Chen did not know that Fei Lingyi already had his eyes on him. However, even if he knew, he would not care. That golden plumed feather in his hand could even force back the greater heavenly Emperor Wu. Why would he fear Fei Lingyi? At this moment, Xiao Chen happily paid the bill and sized up the fleeting shadow gloves in high spirit. After leaving his spiritual mark on them, he immediately put them on. The material of the fleeting shadow gloves was extremely soft. A peak refining grandmaster had used excellent skills to blend many divine materials into a kind of soft metal. The surface of the gloves was smooth like flowing water. When worn, half of the fingers would be exposed, making it even more convenient. There was an imprint on the back of the glove. Formations for dispersing force were inlaid in them. Xiao Chen tested the gloves in the private room. When he attacked, there was no sound of wind at all, just like the name Fleeting Shadow. It felt like his hands merged with the air without any resistance. Xiao Chen's attack speed increased by 20%. As for the effect of dispersing force, he would have to test it in actual combat. With this pair of gloves, Xiao Chen's combat prowess increased significantly. Now, he could face a consummation blue-robed emperor. As long as Xiao Chen did not face a consummation blue-robed emperor that had been stuck for more than 10 years or a consummation blue-robed emperor that cultivated a profound cultivation technique, Xiao Chen would be able to fight a consummation blue-robed emperor. This gave Xiao Chen even more confidence. Even if he could not obtain victory, he was still confident of not being defeated. No one would believe that a newly ascended blue-robed emperor could fight against a perfected blue-robed emperor. Wang Zhen and Xia Luo, who were also in the private rooms on the 6th floor, also saw the scene of Xiao Chen putting on the flowing shadow glove. The murderous intent in their eyes uncontrollably manifested itself. "Second young master, is it him?" Wang Zhen asked. Xia Luo nodded with a sinister expression. "That's him. To think that he actually has such wealth. This is truly unexpected." Wang Zhen smiled and said, "Second young master, don't worry. After the auction ends, I will find someone to follow him. At that time, not only will I help second young master teach this brat a good lesson, but I'll also help second young master seize that pair of gloves." Xia Luo revealed a smile on his face. "Good. I do not need these gloves. They are just nice for Big Brother to use." Amidst the numerous undercurrents, the auction proceeded like a raging fire. Treasure after treasure was sold at exorbitant prices. Yang Yunfan also started to introduce the source returning pill that caught Xiao Chen's eye. Yang Yunfan took out a bottle of medicinal pills and said, "This is a bottle of source returning pills. I believe everyone knows their effects and how low the success rate is. I will not elaborate. There is a total of 5 medicinal pills. The starting price is 1 million black astral coins. Each increment must be no less than 100,000 black astral coins." As the auction started, the price soared. Such a medicinal pill could be used to save one's life or turn the tables at a crucial moment. It was simply a divine medicine that could instantly recover law energy. It would be hard not to be envious. 4 million black astral coins. 4 million black astral coins. 5 million black astral coins. 6 million black astral coins. Toward the end, every increment was 1 million black astral coins, far surpassing Xiao Chen's expectations. However, with his meticulous mind, Xiao Chen discovered that the ones bidding were all great perfection blue-robed emperors. On the contrary, few consummation blue-robed emperors bid. This source returning pill might not have an instant recovery effect on a consummation blue-robed emperor. 10 million black astral coins. Suddenly, someone called out, raising the bid by 4 million black astral coins in one go. This person's attitude completely suppressed the voices of the other bidders. Although the source returning pill was good, at 10 million black astral coins, the quality-price ratio was not very high. Xiao Chen looked towards the source of the voice. The one who called out the bid was Jiang Feng, the descendant of the Black Sea's great bandit Jiang Heng. Jiang Feng had to obtain this source returning pill no matter what. The moment he called out the bid, he displayed an overbearing aura, extinguishing the hopes of several people. "Damn it! It is really unfair to compete with these noble clan scions in terms of wealth. Who asked him to have a good grandfather?" In the eyes of a sovereign martial emperor, 10 million black astral coins is nothing. When the group of blue-robed emperors, who were envious of the source returning pill, heard the bid of 10 million black astral coins, they could not help complaining. It was not that they did not have 10 million black astral coins, it was just that they could not accept it. Using 10 million black astral coins to buy 5 source returning pills was not worth it. When Jiang Feng heard the discussions below, he revealed a cocky smile. Earlier, these people had mocked him a lot. A bunch of country bumpkins, scared silly by 10 million black astral coins. Jiang Feng smiled faintly, forgetting that he had been shocked by Xiao Chen's 10 million black astral coins earlier, not daring to make another bid. Inside the private room, Xiao Chen entered deep thought, wondering if he should continue calling out bid. There were not many things that caught Xiao Chen's eye. However, this Jiang Feng had his eye on the 2 things that he liked, causing the price to soar. The other party was probably purposely looking for trouble with the fleeting shadow glove. As for the source returning pills, he was probably sincere about auctioning them. Is there anyone else who wants to raise the bid for the source returning pill? 10 million black astral coins going once. 10 million black astral coins going twice. Just as Yang Yunfan was about to slam the gavel, Xiao Qin made up his mind. Since he had taken a fancy to it, he would fight for it. No matter how much money he had to buy it. Otherwise, if he regretted it in the future, he might even lose his life. It would be pointless to hold on to a pile of black astral coins. Not wanting to waste time with this Jiang Feng, Xiao Qin directly called out, 20 million black astral coins. The moment the horrifying bid was called out, the entire auction hall fell silent, completely stupefied. Not only were the small perfection blue-robed emperors in the hall stunned, but Jiang Feng was stunned as well. He only had 20 million black astral coins in total. He had never thought of spending it all on this source-returning pill. No matter what, he had to keep half of it for himself. Earlier, Jiang Feng had been mocking the others for being a bunch of country bumpkins. Right after he spoke, he was instantly slapped in the face. He really could not accept this. Damn it. If this were Dark City, I would be able to move 50 million black astral coins at any time. There would be no need for me to suffer like this. Jiang Feng was so angry that he nearly exploded. If not for this being the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion, he would have charged over on the spot. Once again, Xiao Qin experienced the feeling of being rich and overbearing. At the price of 20 million black astral coins, he shocked the entire auction hall and successfully obtained this bottle of source returning pill. Just as Xiao Qin received the source returning pill, a voice projection rang out in his ears. I'm the Manor Lord of the Jadeite Mountain Manor. Pass on a message. I hope that when the heptagold origin is auctioned later, you will give me some face and not join in the fun. When Xiao Qin heard this, he felt excited. Fei Lingyi probably would not say the same thing to him alone. It looked like he was determined to obtain this heptagold origin. Xiao Qin had already chosen to give up on the heptagold origin. Whether this person sent a voice projection or not, it would be the same. I am not interested in the heptagold origin. You can rest assured. The person who sent the message returned to the booth with satisfaction. Then, he reported to Fei Lingyi, Manor Lord, I have already spoken to them. The person you specially instructed also indicated that he will not join in the fun. When Fei Lingyi heard this, he smiled faintly and said, I, Fei Lingyi, still have some face in Blackwater City. The Lunar Palace's people will definitely not expect that the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion will auction a heptagold origin. After we obtain the heptagold origin today, get the people at the Mountain Manor to make preparations to break through to a transcendent divine weapon. So fast? Isn't it supposed to be on the 15th of next month? The others in the booth exclaimed in shock. Fei Lingyi said sullenly, since we already have the heptagold origin, there is no need to be so calculative. If we delay, something unexpected might happen. The sooner, the better. When the sky was about to brighten, the climax of the auction finally arrived. The last auction item, the heptagold origin, was taken out. This is the heptagold origin, a divine material among divine materials. The Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion is lucky to be able to obtain such a treasure this time. I believe that any blue-robed emperor would be very familiar with its value. I will not introduce it and start the auction. Everyone, just make your bid. Yang Yunfan appeared very confident in this last auction item. Even if the starting bid was 0, such a treasure would eventually fetch a sky-high price. I bid 20 million black astral coins. I hope that everyone will give me, Fei Lingyi, some face. My Jadeite Mountain Manor's Heavenly Cloud Jadeite sword will be breaking through to a transcendent divine weapon after daybreak. After I obtain the heptagold origin, I will give everyone here an invitation to attend the ceremony together. Fei Lingyi, who had been silent since the start of the auction, immediately stood up and made a bid after Yang Yunfan finished speaking, revealing an explosive piece of news. Immediately an uproar broke out. Many people were extremely shocked. This news came a little too suddenly. After Fei Lingyi's words rang out, Yang Yunfan's expression turned extremely unsightly. Fei Lingyi's words severely broke the rules of the auction, using his influence to disrupt the auction. Fei Lingyi's bid was not low. Although the heptagold origin was rare, it was only the size of a thumb. 20 million black astral coins was sufficient. However, if the rules were broken, how was the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion going to do business in the future? Yang Yunfan's face sank. He said, "Manor Lord, isn't this a little inappropriate?" Fei Lingyi stood up and said, "Sorry, I must obtain this heptagold origin. I can add another 10 million black astral coins." Just as Yang Yunfan was about to say something, a voice projection suddenly entered his ears. The person behind the scenes of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion had sent a message. The seller completely accepted the price of 30 million black astral coins. After hearing that, Yang Yunfan swallowed back what he wanted to say. Then, he organized his words and said, "Good. This time, I will give the Jadeite sovereign some face. The Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion will not disqualify you from the auction. However, the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion is open for business and welcomes competition. If there are any friends who can bid more than 30 million black astral coins, we guarantee your safety in the auction. No one will threaten you." Chapter 1150. After Fei Lingyi heard that, he revealed a faint smile. He feared that the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion would fall out with him and expel him. In that case, he really had no choice. Others might not know, but he knew that the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion had several Emperor Wu overseeing it. Fortunately, Shao Chun still had a sovereign martial emperor ancestor alive. Otherwise, after saying such words, he would have been chased out immediately. As for the other Emperor Wu present, he believed that with his influence, he would be able to intimidate them. Several of the blue-robed emperors present could take out 30 million black astral coins. However, after thinking about it, they felt that there was no need to compete with Fei Lingyi. Firstly, Shao Qin thought that he might not be able to defeat Fei Lingyi. Instead, he might end up offending a half-step Emperor Wu. Secondly, they did not have an urgent need for the heptagold origin. In order to refine a divine armament into a transcendent divine armament, the heptagold origin was only one of the ingredients. There were many other supplementary materials as well. Since that was the case, he might as well do Shao Chen a favor. As Fei Lingyi expected, no one competed with him. He successfully obtained the heptagold origin for 30 million black astral coins. After putting away the heptagold origin, Fei Lingyi was in a good mood. He performed a cupped fist salute and said with a smile, "Many thanks to everyone. Now that the auction has ended, if everyone is willing to do me the honor, you can come to my Jadeite Mountain Manor and watch the ceremony together. Let's witness the birth of a new transcendent divine weapon, the Heavenly Cloud Jadeite Sword." Amidst loud laughter, Fei Lingyi walked out complacently. The group of blue-robed emperors in the private rooms in the hall quickly rushed out to follow. Such a grand event was rare. Everyone wanted to see for themselves whether Fei Lingyi would succeed or not. Even Jiang Feng and Xia Luo temporarily forgot their hatred for Shao Chun. This sudden matter disrupted their plans. After muttering to himself for a moment, he left the private room and rushed toward the Jadeite Mountain Manor. There were only 10 transcendent divine weapons in the world. Each transcendent divine weapon was extremely mighty, comparable to a primordial emperor treasure. If Shao Chun succeeded in breaking through, it would be a major event that would shock the entire Black Sea, spreading throughout the entire Kunlun realm. It could even change the power structure of the entire Black Sea, triggering a new round of super reshuffling. In the private room, Shao Chen was not in a hurry to leave. He was sorting out his gains from the auction. In this auction, in addition to the flowing shadow gloves and the source returning pill, he had also won 100 high-grade demon fiend stones. Ordinary demon fiend rocks were very effective for tempering saber intent and sword intent. However, Tempering the saber's soul required medial grade and superior grade demon fiend rock. If there was a top grade demon fiend stone, that would be the best. Unfortunately, a treasure that could even tempt Emperor Wu would not appear in this blue-robed Emperor-level auction. The entire auction cost more than 20 million black astral coins. If not for Jiang Feng's interference, the price would have been halved. This debt, Xiao Chun secretly remembered in his heart. If there was a chance in the future, he would definitely get it back with interest. Xiao Chun walked out of the auction house unhurriedly. At the entrance, he saw Yu Bingyun, who had been waiting for him for a long time. "Haha! Everyone else is already gone, but you are not anxious at all. Why are you not interested in this ceremony at all?" Yu Bingyun smiled gently. Her otherworldly aura coupled with her smile deterred others from looking at her directly. As Xiao Chen looked at Yu Bingyun, he smiled meaningfully. "The one who should be anxious should be you, not me. Once the startling wind zither of the Lunar Palace falls out of the divine weapon ranking, you will not be able to bear the loss." If Yu Bingyun messed up such a mission, her position as the Holy Daughter would definitely be questioned in the Lunar Palace. Xiao Chun did not believe that she did not have any competitors in the Lunar Palace and would not feel any pressure. "It looks like you have more or less guessed the ins and outs of the matter." Yu Bingyun walked forward with a calm expression. She said calmly, however, "With the heavenly source pill that you gave me, I will definitely be able to cultivate my longevity art to the 12th layer. The position of the Holy Daughter will not be threatened, so I will not be anxious at all." Yu Bingyun's calm expression prevented Xiao Chen from figuring out her true thoughts. The two chatted as they walked. However, their speed was not slow at all. When the first rays of the morning sun shone out, the final traces of darkness before dawn vanished, and the entire sky started to brighten. However, dark clouds covered the Black Sea all year round. There was no way to see the glorious scene of the sun rising. This was very regrettable. The Jadeite Mountain Manor was situated in Black Water City, between mountains and rivers. The mountains and rivers gave off a feeling that the mountains were not mountains and the water was not water. As one walked along the crisscrossing paths and looked at the mountains, rivers, trees, and clouds flying across the lake, it felt like one was strolling in a painting, an extremely wondrous feeling. According to rumor, the Jadeite sovereign personally laid out the layout of the Jadeite Mountain Manor. There was an exquisite formation hidden in the Jadeite Mountain Manor that merged the surrounding geomancy of the entire mountain manor. If the formation was activated, even a sovereign martial emperor would find it hard to break. The reputation of the Jadeite Mountain Manor was a rather famous place in the entire Black Water City. There was an endless stream of visitors all year round. As Xiao Chen walked around and looked at the mountains and rivers, he felt very moved. He felt that the Jadeite sovereign had put a lot of thought into every part of the layout. He could not casually change or damage them. Otherwise, it would result in a huge change. This Jadeite sovereign was truly incredible. His attainments in geomancy were probably unrivaled in the world. When Xiao Chun felt the harmony between the mountain manor and nature, he suddenly understood why this sovereign martial emperor did not care about worldly power. He did not fight for fame and profit to develop the Jadeite Mountain Manor. Instead, he chose to wander around and be a hands-off manager. He did not take special care of his descendants at all. In the Black Sea, where competition was the law of the jungle, such a sovereign martial emperor could be considered a marvel. As the Jadeite Mountain Manor approached, Xiao Chen could not help saying, "The Jadeite sovereign is definitely not weak. Given his mental state, it is entirely possible for him to advance to prime." Yu Bingyun looked at the beautiful gates of the mountain manor. There were many people inside. Who knew how many blue-robed emperors worked hard to manage them? After a while, she walked forward and said indifferently, "That is natural. If the Jadeite sovereign did not have any deterrence, even if Fei Lingyi were 10 times more courageous, he would not dare to advance his divine weapon into a transcendent divine weapon. However, in the end, he is just a brute. He does not know what he is doing. If he succeeds, even if the Jadeite sovereign rushes back, he will not be able to save his life. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. An ordinary man's wealth was his ruin. Even if the Lunar Palace did not seek trouble for Xiao Chen, the other factions of the Black Sea would make a move immediately to snatch this transcendent divine weapon. At that time, there would be a storm of blood. As a half-step Emperor Wu, he would not be able to handle the situation. Are the two of you entering the manor to participate in the ceremony? When the Mountain Manor's guard in jade-green robes saw Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun, he walked over politely and performed a cupped fist salute. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Manor Lord Fei invited us to the ceremony in the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion. I had some matters to attend to, so I came late." That person smiled humbly and said, "The two of you are indeed late. The ceremony should have started already. Let me bring the two of you to the viewing platform." Not only did the green-robed cultivator not show any intention of stopping Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun, but he even openly brought the two to the viewing platform. His service was extremely attentive. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and thanked the green-robed cultivator. However, he wondered in his heart, what exactly is this Fei Lingyi up to? Clearly, this group of cultivators had been informed in advance. They were not surprised that the blue-robed emperor was here to observe the ceremony. However, the blue-robed emperor had brought forward the matter of the 15th of the next month. Based on the details, one could tell that Fei Lingyi had put in a lot of effort for the sake of breaking the heavenly cloud jadeite sword into a transcendent divine weapon. One of his goals was to blow up this matter as much as possible, to make everyone know about it and shake up the place. From the moment Xiao Chen received the invitation when he entered the Black Sea, it was clear that Fei Lingyi had made preparations long ago for the sake of making things more lively. If it were a regular occasion, there would be no problem with doing so. However, breaking through from a divine weapon to a transcendent divine weapon was a major matter. Many people would be watching. If news leaked out, it might end up failing on the verge of success. That was how Yu Bingyun had gotten involved. Any ordinary person would understand such a simple principle. Yu Bingyun said that this person was arrogant, thinking that he would definitely succeed. Hence, he was not afraid of inviting more people. Xiao Chen acknowledged the former. This Fei Lingyi was extraordinarily arrogant. However, Xiao Chen did not agree with the latter. Xiao Chen had a guess. This Fei Lingyi's main goal was not to succeed in breaking through to a transcendent divine weapon, but to blow up the matter. It would be best if it caused a bloody storm. However, Xiao Chen was not very confident of this guess. Logically speaking, doing so would not benefit Fei Lingyi at all. "We've arrived." The Jadeite Mountain Manor's cultivator led the two to their seats in the viewing platform. Then, he bowed and took his leave. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and returned the bow politely. Then, he sat down together with Yu Bingyun. Thousands of people filled the viewing platform. Nearly all the blue-robed emperors of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion had rushed over. There were even some blue-robed emperors who had not gone to the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion. It was unknown where they got the news and rushed over. A few thousand meters away from the observation platform was a spacious open space, on which a magnificent formation was constructed using various godly materials. The formation patterns flickered endlessly with a multicolored light. The aura of divine materials spread out in the air, attracting everyone's attention and making them sigh in amazement. This Fei Lingyi is serious. The entire viewing platform is covered in black patterned gold. There must be at least 500 tons of it. This is the most basic. Look at the veins of the formation patterns. They are all sorts of precious divine materials. There are at least 100 of them. He is practically using all the capital that the Jadeite sovereign left for him. If he does not succeed, he will have suffered a great loss. There was an altar at the center of the formation. A scarlet sword was stabbed into the blazing flames. A sparkling jadeite was embedded in the sword hilt. Even the dense flames could not hide the light of the jadeite, which occasionally gave off a few beams of light. This was a dazzling light, comparable to the noon sun, deterring people from looking at it directly. This was a jadeite that the jadeite sovereign obtained after refining a planet in the depths of the starry heavens. It contained boundless energy. Rumor had it that there was only one in the world and was exceptionally precious. Even Emperor Wu was tempted by it. Chapter 1151. Xiao Chen's gaze pierced through the flames. However, what he paid more attention to was the scarlet sword that gave off a lot of light. The sword gave off a steady scarlet light like it was alive. The flickering light seemed like blood flowing in the arteries, making one think that this sword was not an inanimate object but a living being. Xiao Chen could not help but think of the previous owner of this sword, the Blood Sword Sovereign, a legendary martial emperor who was even more dazzling than the Thunder Fire Sovereign in the Black Sea. The ceremony had already begun. Many sword refiners gathered around the formation. These sword refiners bared their upper bodies and had grave expressions. All of them had clumps of golden flames leaping about wildly in their hands. These were the weapon flames that these Grandmaster swordsmiths spent their entire lives refining. They were extremely precious and were specially used to forge all sorts of spirit weapons. At Fei Lingyi's command, the various swordsmiths formed profound hand seals and sent their weapon flames into the nodes of the formation. In that instant, the five-colored formation, which used the black patterned gold as the foundation and various divine materials, quickly ignited. Crackling sounds rang out continuously. The toughness of the divine materials could only be ignited by a weapon flame. As the weapon flame crackled, several of the spectating blue-robed emperors' hearts thumped involuntarily. The light of the flames was very beautiful. However, they were not burning waste paper but genuine divine materials, large amounts of black astral coins, equivalent to the wealth of an ordinary Emperor Wu. Even Xiao Chen felt some heartache for this manor lord. Even he did not have the courage to watch these divine materials burn before him without changing his expression. As the flames burned, the divine materials turned into a crystalline liquid that flowed through the formation. Then, they followed a predetermined path to the flame altar in the center. The Grandmaster swordsmiths all showed nervous expressions, not daring to be careless as they controlled the weapon flame. Boom! When all the divine materials poured into the altar, the flame on the altar suddenly soared. A pillar of fire soared into the clouds, instantly piercing through the dark clouds that lingered in the sky. The flames burned so brightly that even the dark clouds began to burn. A large area of sunlight was no longer blocked by the clouds, and it poured down unstintingly. In the dark black water city, the sunlight in the jadeite mountain manor was as eye-catching as holy light. It attracted the attention of the hundreds of millions of cultivators in the city. It was no exaggeration to say that hundreds of millions of people were watching. The blue-robed emperor of the Black Sea, who hadn't seen sunlight for a long time, looked at the sky greedily. He squinted his eyes and looked at the eternal sun outside the barrier of the sky. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A moment later, a divine might spread out from the altar and the celestial cloud jadeite sword began to tremble slightly. Everyone quickly retracted their gazes and focused on the altar. Their expressions were rather nervous, and they did not even dare to breathe too loudly. At this time, Xiao Chen only focused his attention on two people. One was Yu Bingyun, who remained calm and unperturbed. At this moment, he could not help showing some nervousness on his face as he stared at the heptagold origin in Fei Lingyi's hand. There was nothing surprising about this. This was Yu Bingyun's true emotions. If she was not nervous at all at this moment, it would be truly strange. This was truly strange. Xiao Chen even suspected that this woman was not from the Lunar Palace. However, Fei Lingyi's gaze surprised him. Although Fei Lingyi's gaze was fixed on the altar, Xiao Chen clearly discovered that Fei Lingyi's true gaze was wandering around the place. He seemed to be searching for something somewhat anxiously. However, Fei Lingyi's gaze surprised Shao Chen. After searching for a long time, Fei Lingyi did not find anything. He revealed a clear expression of disappointment. This greatly shocked Shao Chen. He wondered if he saw wrong. Fei Lingyi had not even reached the final step, so why was he disappointed? However, this disappointed expression only appeared for an instant before vanishing. Shao Chen could no longer find it. Fei Lingyi laughed self-mockingly in his heart. Then, his lips moved, and he tossed the heptagold origin in his hand at the altar without hesitation. Fei Lingyi's actions seemed to contain some resentment, filled with rage. If he had not carefully suppressed it, given his half-step Emperor Wu's cultivation, this aura would have been extremely terrifying. After seeing Fei Lingyi toss out the heptagold origin, Yu Bingyun's expression relaxed completely compared to the extremely anxious blue-robed emperor. Shao Chen frowned heavily. He guessed something in his heart. He figured out what Fei Lingyi's lips were mumbling to himself. The lip language was, "After 15 years of preparation, I pierced through the sky. However, I still do not receive your gaze. In that case, let a bloody storm descend on the entire Black Sea." However, everyone's gazes were attracted by the heptagold origin in Fei Lingyi's hand. No one noticed this lip language at all. Only Shao Chen happened to notice it. Whoosh! Whoosh! The heptagold origin spun as it flew to the altar. Whether the heavenly cloud jadeite sword could successfully advance into a transcendent divine weapon and kick up a bloody storm would be revealed in a few breaths. The gazes of the more than 1,000 blue-robed emperors all focused on the heptagold origin shining with light. In the eyes of these blue-robed emperors, the speed at which the heptagold origin spun was very clear. All of them held their breaths, raising their heads in anticipation. However, Shao Chen had a bad feeling in his heart. He glanced at Yu Bingyun beside him and saw the power of the world around her move rapidly, forming a strong, formless wind. A terrifying aura brewed continuously. Shao Chen thought to himself, something is wrong. He quickly looked at the heptagold origin, but all he saw was a scarlet light bursting out of it. Before the more than 1,000 gazes, the heptagold origin that fell into the altar did not merge into the heavenly cloud jadeite sword as everyone expected. Instead, the instant the heptagold origin fell into the altar, it exploded, instantly destroying the altar. The shock waves spread throughout the refining formation, rumbling endlessly. The heavenly cloud jadeite sword stabbed into the altar trembled intensely, giving off a dazzling scarlet light. A horrifying divine might spread out from the sword. The scarlet light grew increasingly brighter, piercing and dazzling. The sword that absorbed hundreds of divine materials seemed to reach a critical point, no longer able to maintain its balance. Everyone's expressions changed drastically. At this moment, everyone knew that something was wrong with the heptagold origin. This heavenly cloud jadeite sword was going to explode. What kind of horrifying destructive power would the explosion of a divine weapon produce? Just thinking about the consequences made everyone tremble in fear, sending a chill down their backs. Quickly run! The divine weapon is going to explode! Amidst the bloody light, everyone panicked and retreated without hesitation. However, it was too late to retreat now. Nearly at the same time the heptagold origin landed on the altar, the heavenly cloud jadeite sword exploded. A scarlet shock wave containing divine might surged out in all directions. There was no time to prepare. The shock wave immediately knocked several blue-robed emperors into the air. Some of the weaker ones suffered severe injuries from the explosion. They vomited blood endlessly and their complexions paled. The blue-robed emperor could stir up the clouds with just a raise of his hand. However, before this scarlet light, he appeared incredibly weak. The instant the scarlet light surged over, Shao Chen activated 3,000 heavenly laws in 1,000th of an instant. He drove the vast power of the world and formed a dense protective shield in front of him. Even though Shao Chen's reaction was fast, his qi and blood still surged. After vomiting a mouthful of blood, he felt much better. When Xiao Chen looked around, there was no longer a single small perfection blue-robed emperor standing. The great perfection blue-robed emperor standing was in a sorry state, with many wounds on his body. Only the blue-robed emperors at the gates remained standing, suffering only minor injuries. Yu Bingyun calmly scattered the power of the world before her as she asked Xiao Chen, "Are you all right?" Xiao Chen smiled coldly when he saw Yu Bingyun, who appeared to be unscathed and looked even more relaxed than those consummation blue-robed emperors. Since Yu Bingyun was not injured at all, it was naturally not because she was stronger than those consummation blue-robed emperors. Instead, it was because she had anticipated this. She was the one who arranged for the tampered heptagold origin to be auctioned off, all for the sake of tricking Feilingi. No wonder this woman was fearless from the start, not showing any nervousness at all. So, that was the case. Now everything came to light. This woman was truly incredible. Her boldness was flabbergasting. Unexpectedly, she thought of such a decisive method, directly destroying a divine weapon. From start to end, when Xiao Chen thought about it carefully, he felt a lingering fear. After wiping away the blood from a corner of his lips, Xiao Chen said indifferently, "No wonder Miss Bingyun was so fearless. This Xiao really underestimated you. For you to be able to become the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, you are indeed extraordinary. Admirable." "Are you mocking me?" "I don't dare." Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and said calmly, "You are still too naive. Right now, the peak factions of the oceanic world are in a delicate balance. This Feilingi simply does not know what the consequences will be if my lunar palace loses the startling phoenix Zither. Several factions much stronger than his jadeite mountain manor do not dare to rashly refine a transcendent divine weapon. They are afraid of stirring up a commotion between the major factions, resulting in chaos. No one can bear such a consequence." When Xiao Chen heard this, he felt stunned. However, he quickly calmed down. Actually, he did not disagree with Yu Bingyun's actions. If he were in Yu Bingyun's shoes, he would have done the same. Different positions had different standpoints. In the end, Xiao Chen was angry at the other party for not telling him in advance. Xiao Chen looked at Feilingi. He was the closest to the altar, and had blocked most of the might of the divine weapon's explosion. Feilingi lay on the ground, covered in blood. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The broken sword had melted into a blood cocoon above the altar, floating in the air. It was unknown what it contained. On top of the blood cocoon, there was a sparkling and translucent jadeite that emitted a deep blue light. This piece of divine jadeite forged from a star had a unique charm. Several of the great perfection blue-robed emperors were tempted, revealing greedy expressions in their eyes. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. When three great perfection blue-robed emperors saw Feilingi lying on the ground, they could not help flying into the air, wanting to grab this piece of divine jadeite. Scram! A shout rang out, and Feilingi, who was on the ground, suddenly soared up. Then, he threw 3 palm strikes. The mountains and rivers of the jadeite mountain manor seemed to move under the force of these 3 palm strikes, merging with the mountains and rivers. Chapter 1152. These 3 simple palm strikes materialized mountains and rivers, layered over each other and sending back the 3 great perfection blue-robed emperors. Feilingi stretched out his hand and firmly grasped the jadeite. Then, he released his aura. The strong accumulations of a half-step Emperor Wu put pressure on everyone. "You are really bold. To think that you dare to target me in my jadeite mountain manor. Even if you obtained this jadeite, would you dare to use it?" Feilingi snorted coldly. The 3 great perfection blue-robed emperors who landed immediately felt the pressure multiply. When the others heard this, they startled awake. This jadeite was refined by the jadeite sovereign. Unless one was a sovereign martial emperor, one could erase the jadeite sovereign's mark. Otherwise, if one was not a descendant of the jadeite sovereign's bloodline, one would not be able to use it. That would only bring disaster to oneself. After the 3 got up, They did not say anything more and quickly fled. Fei-Lingi ignored them. He swept his gaze through the many blue-robed emperors before fixing it on Yu Bingyun. He said indifferently, "The Lunar Palace's people are indeed better. You even managed to bribe the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion's people. This Fei is convinced of my loss this time. Everyone, please disperse. I've let you all watch a joke." At this point, how could Fei-Lingi not figure out that the heptagold origin was a trap laid by the Lunar Palace and the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion? Yu Bingyun smiled but showed no intention of leaving. She looked at the blood cocoon in the air and said, "In the ancient records of my Lunar Palace, the life and death art that the blood sword sovereign used to condense the heart of an emperor in advance is very likely to be hidden in this heavenly blood sword." The moment Yu Bingyun said that, several of the blue-robed emperors preparing to leave stopped. This was especially so for those consummation blue-robed emperors. As they looked at the large blood cocoon, a boundless light appeared in their eyes. The blood sword sovereign was a legendary martial emperor of his generation. He had left behind countless legends. Naturally, what the descendants remembered the most was that he condensed the heart of an emperor before he became Emperor Wu. When Yu Bingyun said that the life and death art might be hidden in this blood cocoon, how could the blue-robed emperor not be moved? Even Xiao Chen couldn't help but be tempted. When Fei-Lingi heard this, his heart skipped a beat. His pale expression changed indeterminately. To think that there was such a secret. He had held the Heaven Cloud Jadeite sword for several hundred years, but he had never noticed it. Is that so? Then I'll leave it to you to keep it safe for a while. If anything happens, please let me know. Fei-Lingi did something that exceeded everyone's expectations. He stretched out his hand, and the mysterious blood cocoon quickly flew towards Yu Bingyun. Yu Bingyun's expression changed. Before she could figure out what was going on, the blood cocoon appeared before her. She reflexively grabbed the blood cocoon. When the crimson blood cocoon fell into his hand and he felt the murderous gazes directed at him, he came to his senses. Cursing inwardly, he pulled Xiao Chen and flew away. "Let's go." Before Xiao Chen could react, Yu Bingyun had already pulled him away. When he looked back, he saw more than 300 great perfection blue-robed emperors and 10-odd consummation blue-robed emperors frantically chasing after them. The extraordinarily bustling Jadeite mountain manor instantly emptied out. No one remained. Fei-Lingi withdrew his half-step Emperor Wu's strong aura. Then, he vomited a large mouthful of blood and knelt to the ground. "Manor Lord, are you all right?" An attendant in the mountain manor quickly came over to support Fei-Lingi, asking with an extremely worried expression. Earlier, he had wondered why Fei-Lingi had given away the blood cocoon formed by the Heavenly Cloud sword fragment. Now, it looked like Fei-Lingi had no choice but to give it away. After enduring most of the destructive force of the divine weapon's shattering, he was severely injured. Given his previous temper, he definitely would not have let off those 3 great perfection blue-robed emperors who wanted the Jadeite. Fei-Lingi waved his hand and pushed that person away. He said, "I'm fine. Send someone to keep a close eye on Yu Bingyun's movements. Tell me immediately if the blood sword sovereign left a secret technique in the blood cocoon or not." All right. Under Fei-Lingi's insistence, that person had no choice but to leave. However, before he left, he glanced at Fei-Lingi worriedly. Fei-Lingi looked helplessly at the sky. The scattered dark clouds were already slowly gathering. Only a final ray of light shone on him, making him look strangely sorrowful. He still could not see him. He did not come at all. Even after preparing for 15 years and tearing through the sky, he still hardened his heart and did not come, unwilling to see this grandson of his. Even though he was so severely injured, nearly dying, he still did not show up. Before Fei-Lingi's gaze, the thick dark clouds slowly gathered. Outside the barrier of the sky, which was tens of thousands of meters taller than the dark clouds, a man and a woman stood on a small planet floating in the universe. They did not do anything, but they forcefully deviated this small planet from its trajectory and stopped it from moving. The man's face was like jade. His eyes were like stars and gems, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. He looked like he was only in his 20s. This person's aura was extraordinary, like an immortal from the immortal epic, drifting like an immortal. The woman was very beautiful. Her skin was as white as snow, looking delicate and fragile. She had a noble air, graceful and elegant. Ribbons circled behind her gorgeous dress, and a bright moon vaguely appeared behind her. If Fei Lingyi and Yu Bingyan were here, they would definitely recognize these two. These two were the famous Jadeite sovereign and the Lunar Palace's current palace master. One was a famous sovereign martial emperor of the Black Sea, and the other was the uncrowned queen of the heavenly starry ocean, a powerful prime. You are really extraordinarily ruthless. For the sake of meeting you, he caused such a huge commotion, and yet you did not show anything, the Lunar Palace's palace master said indifferently after withdrawing her gaze. A complicated look flashed in the Jadeite sovereign's eyes. After a while, he sighed and said, "I know why he is looking for me. He wants me to help him advance to Emperor Wu and live for another 500 years. A complicated look flashed in the Jadeite sovereign's eyes. After a while, he sighed and said, "I know why he is looking for me. He wants me to help him advance to martial emperor and live for another 500 years. He does not have sufficient luck. If I act rashly and go against the heavenly Tao to help him advance, I will only die a more miserable death in the end. He doesn't have enough luck. If I act rashly and go against the heavenly Tao to help him advance, I will only die a more miserable death." The Jadeite sovereign smiled carefreely and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Many thanks for your help this time. Otherwise, who knows what kind of disaster it would have led to." The Jadeite sovereign smiled carefreely and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Many thanks for your help this time. Otherwise, who knows what kind of disaster it would have led to." Fei Lingyi only cared about his preparations. He did not know that the news had leaked out long ago. He also did not know what kind of huge waves his rash actions had kicked up in Emperor Wu's circle. If not for the Jadeite sovereign and the Lunar Palace's palace master working together to suppress this matter, sending only Yu Bingyan to deal with it, he would have died several times already. But then again, the successor you've chosen is indeed bold. He directly blew up the divine weapon. Back then, I spent a lot of effort to reforge the heavenly blood sword. When the Lunar Palace's palace master heard the Jadeite sovereign mention Yu Bingyan, she revealed a smile on her face. She only took the Jadeite sovereign's words as praise. "How is it? What do you think of me as the successor?" Shrewdness, scheming, boldness, luck, and talent are all top-notch. She can ensure that the Lunar Palace will not be defeated for 1,000 years. However, the Jadeite sovereign suddenly stopped halfway through his sentence. The Lunar Palace's palace master raised her head and asked, "However what?" The Jadeite sovereign smiled and continued, "However, when he stands beside the Qing Emperor's descendant, he is still somewhat inferior. He does not have the pride that comes from the depths of his bones. He also lacks the air of a ruler that comes from the inside out, able to withdraw and withdraw as he pleases. Did you notice that this youth's elegance is already no weaker than that of the Qing Emperor back then? He might even surpass it. His overwhelming luck is even more enviable." When the Lunar Palace's palace master heard this, she revealed a slightly displeased expression. It was not that she lacked magnanimity or self-restraint. However, the Jadeite sovereign's evaluation of this person had something to do with the Qing Emperor. This made it hard for the Lunar Palace's palace master to erase the grudge in her heart. If it were another youth, the Lunar Palace's palace master would not show such an expression. You are right. However, no matter what, he only has 4 years left. In the end, he will pass by like a meteor. Not to mention becoming the Qing Emperor, any outstanding talent in this age of geniuses will be stronger than him. The Jadeite sovereign knew a little about what the Qing emperor did to the lunar palace. Seeing that the lunar palace's palace master's emotions were deep, he did not pursue this topic. Oh, right, is there really the life and death art that the blood sword sovereign left in the heavenly blood sword? The lunar palace's palace master asked with interest when she thought of this matter. The Jadeite sovereign shook his head and replied, "How can that be? If there really was, I would have taken it out long ago. There is only a map in there. The location is a cave where the blood sword sovereign cultivated in the past. As for whether the life and death art is in there or not, I do not know." "How can you not know? Could it be that you have never been there before?" "I really have not been there before. During the blood sword sovereign's era, the entire Black Sea continent was still intact. Even now, although we know that the location is still on Blackwater Island, the world has changed many times. Even a geomaster would have to spend a lot of effort to figure it out." After a pause, the Jadeite sovereign continued, "Furthermore, even if we find the life and death art, it would be useless to Emperor Wu. Even the blue-robed emperor would find it extremely difficult to use this secret technique to condense a heart of an emperor. Not everyone has the blood sword sovereign's physique, excellent comprehension ability, and extraordinary willpower." When the lunar palace's palace master heard this, she immediately lost much of her interest. "In that case, I'll take my leave first. I'll leave the matters here to these juniors." She pushed off the ground and the ribbons behind her fluttered. Then, her gorgeous figure vanished into the vast starry heavens. As the Jadeite sovereign stood in the starry heavens, he glanced at Feilingi from a great distance. He muttered, "You will never understand. In the end, a butterfly needs to turn into a cocoon before it can spread its wings. If I help you break that cocoon, how can you truly fly? Sometimes, you have to learn to let go of the Emperor's road." Shaking his head, the Jadeite sovereign pushed off with his feet, and his graceful figure vanished into the vast starry heavens. Bang! The instant the Jadeite sovereign left, the small planet that had been out of orbit for too long instantly exploded, turning into countless meteors charging at the barrier of the sky. They burned with light and heat, releasing a boundlessly resplendent light. Chapter 1153. The meteor was indeed beautiful. Unfortunately, it lasted only an instant, disappearing in a flash. Even the lunar palace's palace master did not think highly of Xiao Qin. At this moment, for the sake of avoiding becoming a meteor, he frantically fled with Yu Bingyun on Blackwater Island. The large group of blue-robed emperors pursuing the two did not stop for even a moment. Even after the two used all their tricks and schemes, they still could not shake off this group of frenzied blue-robed emperors. To the blue-robed emperor, condensing the heart of an emperor in advance was a great temptation. No matter what, he would not give up. Xiao Chen was in a sorry state from the chase. He even had several wounds on his body. If there were only 10 odd people, he believed that he could handle them. However, there were hundreds of blue-robed emperors chasing him. There were even several consummation blue-robed emperors. Xiao Chen simply could not do anything about it. "Never mind, I give up." Xiao Chen, who was speeding through the air, suddenly stopped and said. Yu Bingyun asked, finding it strange, "Are you sure? If you insist, I have a trump card to shake off these troublesome fellows." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Thank you for your kind intentions. I have a trump card as well. However, I really cannot monopolize this thing. Otherwise, the two of us will fall for Feilingi's trap." Xiao Chen grabbed the mysterious blood cocoon in Yu Bingyun's hand. Then, he turned around and raised it high. "Whoever makes a move, I will directly destroy it." The moment Xiao Chen said that, the group of people frantically chasing after Xiao Chen with surging auras immediately stopped anxiously. The hundreds of blue-robed emperors eyed Xiao Chen covetously, stirring up winds and clouds in the surroundings. Their auras were so strong that they nearly could not stand up. "Little friend, there is no need to be nervous. Hand over the blood cocoon formed by the fragments of the heavenly cloud sword, and we will naturally not make things difficult for you. The one who spoke was a consummation blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chun had some impression of this person. His name was Jin Liangqi. He had seen this person in action in front of the testing monument. He was able to light up 9 of the 10 purple gems on the 6th row. Among the great perfection blue-robed emperors, his strength was at the top. Xiao Chun admitted that he was not as strong as the other party, but he did not show the slightest bit of fear. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he said with a smile, "Hand it over? Hand it over to you and let you take it away?" That was exactly what he wanted to say. Just as Jin Liangqi was about to say yes, he suddenly noticed many unfriendly gazes looking at him. Cursing in his heart, he smiled awkwardly. Of course not. It's the right way to share it with everyone. Otherwise, no matter who gets it, there will inevitably be a fierce battle, and it will benefit an outsider. Xiao Chun glanced at the mysterious blood cocoon in his hand. Then, he looked at the many blue-robed emperors. Even when facing so many blue-robed emperors, he did not show any stage fright. Very well. What Senior Jin said is actually what I wanted to say as well. No one can monopolize the secret of the life and death art. If everyone has no problems, I can choose to cut open this blood cocoon now and see if there is the life and death art inside. The surroundings fell silent. Clearly, there were still some misgivings. After all, the blood cocoon was in Xiao Chen's hands. Even if there was the life and death art inside, it was still up to him to decide whether to split it or not. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "What's wrong? Are you afraid that I will continue to run after taking the life and death art? If I really wanted to keep it for myself, I wouldn't have stopped. I've already said this much. Whether you are willing or not, I will cut it open now." He could not be bothered with this group of paranoid old monsters who were overthinking things. Xiao Chen used his palm as a saber, not giving these people a chance to retort. He hacked down, and the 40% comprehended saber soul in his sea of consciousness spread throughout his body. A horrifying saber intent spread out. Xiao Chen's clothes and hair fluttered, giving off melodious tinkling sounds. The boundless saber intent was like zither music spreading out in all directions. Xiao Chen's move stunned several blue-robed emperors. A strange light flashed in their eyes. For this white-robed bladesman to last so long under the pursuit of so many blue-robed emperors, he was indeed extraordinary. Pu Si. A saber light flickered, and Xiao Chen's hand saber neatly cut open the mysterious scarlet blood cocoon without leaving a mark. Instantly, a scarlet light spread out, looking like blood spreading everywhere. The blood cocoon slowly melted, thickening the scarlet light and forming a blood mist. A floating drawing appeared on Xiao Chen's palm. He was somewhat surprised. The blood cocoon was not empty, nor was it the life and death art. It was just an ancient drawing that looked like a map. "Brat, quickly hand over the drawing. Hurry up. Otherwise, you can forget about leaving this place alive." The blue-robed emperors did not care whether this drawing had anything to do with the life and death art or not. When the map appeared, they immediately roared. Xiao Chun ignored them. He opened the drawing and took a look. After memorizing it, he quickly pushed the drawing out. "Let's go." Not wanting to care about this group of blue-robed emperors, Xiao Chun called out to Yu Bingyun and quickly left. Seeing the drawing floating over, the excited blue-robed emperors cautiously quietened down. If anyone dared to make a move, they would destroy this drawing in the chaos. Jin Liangqi's gaze was like lightning. He did not make a move, just taking a look as well. After memorizing the contents of the drawing, he left quietly. At the blue-robed emperor's level, nearly everyone had a photographic memory. As the various blue-robed emperors memorized the contents of the drawing, the number of blue-robed emperors decreased. In the end, not a single one remained, leaving only this lonely treasure map drifting down. Speaking of which, this was rather laughable. Earlier, everyone had chased after this item crazily. However, when they discovered that it was just a drawing, No one went to take it in, leaving it to drift everywhere. In a large courtyard in Black Water City, Xiao Chen took out a brush and paper. Then, he drew out everything he had memorized word for word. He gently blew on the brush and dried the ink. Then, Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun carefully observed it. This is a map. Based on the red mark, it should be a cave. Combined with the Blood Sword Sovereign's identity, the answer is clear. This map records a cave that the Blood Sword Sovereign once cultivated in. After observing for a long time, Yu Bingyun quickly came to a conclusion. Xiao Chen did not deny it. This was the most superficial information. Practically everyone who obtained the drawing could figure it out. The difficult part was not this. The difficult part was the path on the map. After tens of thousands of years, the world had changed. The landscape had changed a few times, and the routes and landmarks on the map had long since disappeared. Trying to find the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave by relying on this map was no less than a fantasy. It was impossible. Clearly, Yu Bingyun knew this as well. After some thought, she said, "We have to find an old man familiar with the Black Sea's terrain and draw out a rough outline of the cave. After that, we have to find a geomaster to observe the geography and geomancy, figuring out where the cave is." Xiao Chen nodded. This was the only way. He said, "You can handle the first part. There's no need to find a geomaster for the latter part." "What do you mean?" Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Although I'm just a dabbling geomaster, I believe that my skill far surpasses the average." Yu Bingyun's eyes lit up. Finding it strange, she said, "I couldn't tell. I really don't know what you don't know. There are many things that I don't know. For example, I do not have the courage to waste a heptagold origin to blow up a divine weapon." Yu Bingyun felt stifled. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen was still angry at her for not informing him in advance. She put away the map and rolled her eyes at him. Then, she said, "I can't be bothered with you. After I figure out the rough location, I'll come and look for you, a geomaster." After the other party left, Xiao Chen took out 100 superior-grade demon fiend rocks from the universe ring. He muttered, 100 superior-grade demon fiend rocks should be sufficient to raise my 40% comprehended saber soul to 50% comprehended. This saber soul is really difficult to advance. As Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun made their preparations, the entire Black Water City turned chaotic. The news of the map spread like wildfire. Nearly all the blue-robed emperors in Black Water City were startled. Each of those blue-robed emperors was more intelligent than the last. Soon, they came to a similar conclusion as Yu Bingyun. They started to search for skilled geomasters, wanting to enter the cave first. Regardless of whether there was any information about the life and death art in the cave, everyone knew that they would not return empty-handed after going to the cave where the Blood Sword Sovereign once cultivated. Inside the Xia clan's courtyard, Xia Luo and Wang Zhen studied the map. Their faces filled with wild joy. Xia Luo smiled and said, "As long as I obtain the life and death art and condense the heart of an emperor in advance, I am confident of advancing to martial emperor within 10 years. Similarly, Wang Zhen could not hide the joy on his face. After condensing the heart of an emperor, I will be 99% confident of undergoing my great tribulation of wind and fire. Oh, by the way, second young master, should we inform first young master and the main clan of this news?" Xia Luo thought for a while before shaking his head. "No. The Dark Sea is too far from us. By the time the main clan's people arrive, they will be much too late. Our own strength is sufficient." At the same time, Jiang Feng held the map. His face also filled with joy. "Originally, I just wanted to join in on the excitement of the auction. Unexpectedly, I managed to obtain such a harvest. If I condense the heart of an emperor and return to Dark City, I will be able to sweep through all the outstanding talents of the younger generation." Everyone moved quickly, afraid of being too slow. The area of the cave shrank. In the end, they determined that it was to the west of Blackwater Island. However, The size of Blackwater Island was already no smaller than a small continent. This area was still rather large. As for the rest, they could only rely on geomasters to observe the geography. 4 days passed. Xiao Chun successfully used 100 superior-grade demon fiend rocks to temper his 40% comprehended saber soul to 50% comprehension. Every time his saber soul increased by 10%, its might would improve significantly. His gaze would become sharper, and his aura sharper. With just one look, he could frighten his opponent. However, the further he went, the harder it would be to raise his saber soul. As Xiao Chun had never used a demon fiend rock before, the effect this time was very obvious. If he used it a second time, the effect would be significantly weaker. This was unless he used a peak-grade demon fiend rock that moved even Emperor Wu. Of course, speaking of which, now that Xiao Chun had a 5th saber soul and was in the blue-robed Emperor realm, he could already look down on everyone. If Xiao Chun's other states, thunder, death, massacre, despair, and grief, were taken into account, he would be even more unfathomable. In battle, he would have many wondrous effects that mysterious phenomena could not achieve. Chapter 1154. When Xiao Chun opened his eyes, countless sabers hummed in their depths. He felt his combat prowess increase significantly. His fighting spirit soared. He wished that he could find a consummation blue-robed emperor and have a good fight. Ka Xie. Just at this moment, the door opened and Yu Bingyun rushed in. Just as she was about to say something, she suddenly saw Xiao Chun's sharp gaze. Suddenly, she felt like an invisible saber stabbed into her chest. There was a strange pain, and she could not help taking half a step back. When Xiao Chun saw that his saber soul injured the other party, he quickly withdrew it. His sharp aura immediately vanished, and he could control it as he pleased. Xiao Chun stood up and apologized. At the same time, he thought to himself, under the full power attack of my 50% comprehended saber soul, Yu Bingyun actually only took half a step back. Yu Bingyun, who was caught off guard, only took half a step back. This woman must have many secrets that I do not know. As for the trump card that Yu Bingyun once mentioned, Xiao Chun was very interested. His trump card was that plume feather. What would Yu Bingyun's trump card be? Your gaze is really scary. It feels like you have pierced through my heart, Yu Bingyun said with some half-truths. Then, she took out a map and said, let's get back to business. The Blood Sword Sovereign's cave has already been determined to be to the west of Blackwater Island. When Xiao Chun heard that, he thought for a while before saying, the west of Blackwater Island. This is really a large area. Be content. After tens of thousands of years, it is already not easy to recognize Thunder Sword Peak with a mark on the map. The rest will depend on you, a geomaster. Don't brag so much, but in the end you do not even have a clue, Yu Bingyun said mockingly. Clearly, she did not believe what Xiao Chun had said. Geomasters were famous for being secretive and clandestine. Outsiders would find it hard to learn the essence of it. Xiao Chun's talent was pretty good, but that was only in the martial Dao. As a geomaster, Yu Bingyun found it hard to rest assured. Xiao Chun smiled and did not argue. The geomancy of the sea was much more complicated than that of the land. However, he could handle it. Xiao Chun could deal with it, all the more when it came to seeking dragons and fixing veins on land. But at this time, it was useless to say anything. He just had to prove himself with his actions. After packing up, Xiao Chun and Yu Bingyun flew out of Blackwater City, rushing to the west of the island. For an ordinary person, it would take a day and a night to cross the border of the island, but for the blue-robed emperor, it would not take too long. 1 hour later, Xiao Chun and Yu Bingyun stopped at the summit of Thunder Sword Peak. The Lightning Sword Peak corresponded to a mountain peak on the map. Although its appearance had changed a few times over the past tens of thousands of years, it was still the same as before. However, the sword-shaped mountain peak that rose straight into the sky and the endless thunder and lightning in the sky matched perfectly with the markings on the map. He was 100% sure that this lightning sword peak was the peak marked by lightning on the map. The small summit was filled with blue-robed emperors. Each blue-robed emperor had a geomaster with a sinister aura by their side, holding all sorts of dragon-seeking secret treasures in their hands. When Xiao Chun and Yu Bingyun landed on the summit, they immediately attracted the attention of several people. Back then, Xiao Chun held up the blood cocoon and faced the hundreds of blue-robed emperors. Now, all the peak cultivators in Blackwater City knew the name of the white-robed bladesman. When an old man saw Xiao Chun and Yu Bingyun coming alone without a geomaster, he smiled and said, "White-robed bladesman, why are you here with just the two of you? I don't see you inviting a geomaster. Are you trying to take advantage of us by following behind us?" After that old man said that, he guffawed. The other old men all laughed contentedly as well. 4 days ago, Xiao Chun was very arrogant. Now, the other party should have restrained himself, knowing that these local experts were not to be trifled with. It was just like now. Without any fame, it would not be easy to invite a geomaster. It doesn't matter. Young people still have opportunities to learn. This time, we will let you follow behind us and learn properly. That's true. Even if we let him follow, he will not be able to enter the cave in the first place. The group of old men laughed wantonly, feeling very comfortable in their hearts. 4 days ago, Xiao Chun had been too sharp, showing no respect to these seniors. They had long since disliked him in their hearts. More and more blue-robed emperors flew over from the summit. When they saw Xiao Chun and Yu Bingyun coming alone, they felt a sense of superiority. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "Seniors, there is no need to worry. This junior indeed cannot invite a geomaster. However, I know a thing or two about searching for dragons, fixing veins, observing the wind, and observing the water. When the time comes, it will be hard to say who will be following who." Ha 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 ha! The moment Xiao Chun said that, he immediately elicited loud laughter. How noble was a geomaster! If not for being influenced by a geomaster from a young age and receiving the guidance of a geomaster senior, he would not have been able to do so. No matter how talented a regular cultivator was, they would only be able to learn the slightest bit of it, unable to be of any use. More importantly, geomasters were passed down through the bloodline. Outsiders could not learn it even if they wanted to. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun boasted shamelessly in front of so many geomasters, saying that he knew a thing or two about it and that he wanted to find the cave before them. This was simply a great joke. Everyone could not help but laugh at him for overestimating himself and being boundlessly arrogant. The black-clad old man who first mocked Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Since you are so confident, then this old man will make a bet with you on behalf of these geomasters. Let's see whose dragon-seeking art is stronger. I know you are rich and overbearing, so let's not bet on anything else. The loser will just shout, 'I am a pig' 3 times on this summit." That's right. This old man will bet with you as well. I really don't believe that our group of people will follow behind you to find the cave. I'll bet with you as well. The group of old men on the summit wanted to test Xiao Chun's sharpness, so they all followed him. Xiao Chun could not help laughing. Interesting. Good, I'll accept this bet. Boundlessly arrogant. Where did this brat come from? This geomaster will ask you this. Do you know what a dragon vein is? The geomasters present could not stand Xiao Chun's attitude. They felt that Xiao Chun completely ignored them, the orthodox geomasters. A white-haired geomaster could not help reprimanding Xiao Chun angrily. As the saying goes, a hero does not care about his background. Senior, why do you care where I come from? Since you do not know what a dragon vein is, then I'll tell you. The words dragon vein have to be looked at separately. The dragon is the terrain, the substance. The stars are upright and upright, the bright hall is wide, the lakes and ponds are intertwined, The distant mountains and nearby rivers gather in the morning and evening. There are thousands of veins, all different. However, having the terrain is not enough. It also needs the charm within. Otherwise, it will only be a false dragon. The vein in the dragon vein refers to the spirit. How can an ordinary person use the terrain to observe the spirit? That will depend on the true ability of a geomaster. Xiao Chen did not lose his sharpness in the face of this geomaster's rebuke. He spoke a long string of geomancy terms, catching the white-haired geomaster off guard. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen really understood this trade. There were several terms that only geomasters like them could understand. He did not seem like an outsider who had only scratched the surface. Xiao Chen's aura was too strong, putting immense pressure on this white-haired geomaster. His heart pounded heavily. After taking a few deep breaths, he said, "It is just an insignificant skill. Why the need to put on an act? Let me ask you again. Do you know how many kinds of dragon veins there are?" When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help but smile. "It looks like old Sir's character is not very good. Your question is not very brilliant. The terrain of mountains and rivers is very strange, all different. On a smaller scale, there are many kinds. True dragons, false dragons, calamity dragons, killing dragons, auspicious dragons, ferocious dragons, strong dragons, weak dragons, fat dragons, skinny dragons, noble dragons, despicable dragons, and so on. However, on a larger scale, there are only two kinds. One is for obedience and the other is against. There is a saying in ancient geomancy, 'Those who obey me will prosper, and those who oppose me will die.' I would like old Sir to explain this to me." Xiao Chen's words flowed like a river, flowing endlessly. His aura became sharper as he spoke. The final question forced that white-haired geomaster to take a few steps back involuntarily, rendered speechless. The summit fell silent. When the group of blue-robed emperors who made a bet with Xiao Chen saw this scene, they all felt somewhat nervous. Could it be that they would lose? As Yu Bingyun looked at the boundlessly elegant Xiao Chen, a trace of emotion flashed in her eyes. Then, she revealed a faint smile. Seeing the other party at a loss for words, unable to answer, Xiao Chen could not help feeling dispirited. These geomasters were not at the peak. Compared to the geomasters Xiao Chen saw at the Northern Sea Alliance, they were not even close. Compared to Jiang Tian, who gave him the vellum, there was no comparison at all. The difference was like the difference between cloud and mud. These people still wanted to take advantage of their seniority, wanting to teach him a lesson in anger. They were simply asking for trouble, not worthy of any sympathy. After taking a few steps back, the white-haired geomaster calmed himself. Wanting to redeem some face, he said, "You are just lucky and managed to read some ancient geomaster books. Compared to our geomaster clans, you are far inferior." "That's right. You speak so extravagantly. In the end, we still have to fight. Seeing that you did not bring a single dragon seeking secret treasure, I knew that you only know how to talk." When the group of geomasters saw that Xiao Chen, this outsider, could not suppress their aura, they felt dissatisfied and started shouting. When the other blue-robed emperors heard this, they rejoiced in their hearts, feeling hopeful. This Xiao Chen nearly frightened them. The inheritance of a geomaster was incredibly complicated. How could a youth understand it? When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled coldly. The vertical eye on his forehead slowly opened, flickering with a strange purple light. He said indifferently, "What dragon-seeking secret treasure do I need? My eye is the best dragon-seeking secret treasure. Heavenly Eye." The instant the vertical eye opened, the old geomasters were all astonished. Shock filled their eyes, and their breathing became somewhat anxious. The Heavenly Eye, a famous skill among geomasters since ancient times, actually appeared again. Furthermore, it appeared on a youth. When the many blue-robed emperors saw this scene, their hearts sank. They all had a bad feeling. "It's over. We are probably going to fail this time." This white-robed bladesman before us is really a geomaster who hid his strength. After Shao Chen opened the heavenly eye, he did not remain idle for even a moment. The strange vertical eye scanned the surroundings, looking at all sorts of terrain. All sorts of strange things appeared in Shao Chen's mind. He took in a panoramic view of the 500 kilometers in front of him. He instantly analyzed several different dragon veins. Chapter 1155. Shao Chen formed a finger seal with one hand, and beams of light appeared between his fingers. The terrain in his mind quickly materialized on his palm. The speed at which it changed was hard to see with the naked eye. Aside from being able to see the terrain somewhat clearly, the others could only see all sorts of strange dragon-shaped chi flickering continuously as Shao Chen's fingers moved, appearing boundlessly profound. After 10 breaths, Shao Chen felt a piercing pain in his eyes. He immediately closed the vertical eye on his forehead and both his eyes at the same time. Shao Chen's white robes fluttered in the wind as he sank into deep thought, his body merging with the world. As Shao Chen's fingers moved, all sorts of dragon roars resounded for 500 kilometers in front. Occasionally, dragon chi tore through the ground and soared into the clouds. This is a strong dragon. This is a killing dragon. This is a tribulation dragon. The many geomasters recognized the various dragon veins as Shao Chen's fingers moved. At this moment, these geomasters no longer looked down on Shao Chen like they did earlier. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. As they looked at Shao Chen's exquisite dragon-seeking secret art, their eyes filled with admiration and respect. Shao Chen's dragon-seeking secret art was indeed on a higher level than theirs. They could not help but be impressed. After a while, Shao Chen opened his eyes and flicked his hand. The various dragon-shaped lights vanished. His movements were extremely elegant and graceful. He already had some answers in his heart. The many blue-robed emperors all turned ashen. By now, it was clear who was better between Shao Chen and the geomasters. As for who won the bet between them and Shao Chen, there was no need to say more. But for them to admit defeat and shout, "I'm a pig" 3 times in front of everyone, they couldn't do such a thing no matter what. If they really said it, it would probably spread throughout the entire Blackwater Sea in less than half a day. At that time, they would not be able to remain in this sea region with their old faces. Yu Bingyan felt somewhat pleased in her heart. That's what you get for looking down on me. Now you suffer a setback. She smiled gently and said, "I wonder if the bet still counts or not." This little girl saw it clearly from start to end. These words could be considered a threat. If these old men went back on their word and spread the news, they would also lose all face. The face of the black-robed old man who had made the bet first turned red. After holding it in for a long time, he said in a deep voice, "Little girl, you don't have to provoke me. I'm a man of my word. At worst, I'll just leave the Black Sea in the future." Just as he was about to take the lead and say that he was a pig, Shao Chen turned around and stopped him. "Forget it. Seniors are already so old. There's no need for you to suffer such humiliation. I'm also not an overbearing and domineering person. Everyone, just take this as a lesson. Even if he's just an ignorant brat, there's no need to wantonly ridicule him or suppress him. It's still the same old saying. A hero doesn't care about his background. Who can predict that the person you ridiculed and humiliated today would one day rise to the top and laugh proudly at the peak?" Hearing those words, the old men immediately heaved a sigh of relief and felt much more comfortable. All of them had lived for hundreds of years. If they really said those words, they would really lose all their face. Now that the many old men adjusted their attitudes and sized up Shao Chen again, they could not help but view him in a different light. They discovered that Shao Chen had an extremely strong aura, comparable to that of those major characters who had ascended to the Emperor's Tao. Furthermore, Shao Chen's mental state far surpassed these old men's. The black-robed old man performed a cupped fist salute and said, "This time, we have learned a lot. Many thanks, little brother, for being lenient. This old man owes you a favor." The other blue-robed emperors also performed cupped fist salutes in thanks. At the same time, someone could not help asking, "Little brother, would you be willing to tell us your great name?" Everyone guessed that an outstanding talent like Xiao Chen would definitely not be unknown. They could not help being curious about Xiao Chen's true identity. Since the other party asked, Xiao Chen did not hide it. His true identity would be exposed sooner or later, so he answered honestly, "I am Xiao Chen. My name is Xiao Chen, and my surname is Chen." Xiao Chen. The many old men mulled over this name a few times but still could not find anything. There was no young outstanding talent in the Black Sea that matched his name. Only the black-robed old man thought for a while before saying in realization, "Xiao Chen? Are you the Blue Dragon King Xiao Chen, the descendant of the Qing Emperor, the Blue Dragon King appointed by the Bushan Palace's Thunder King?" Xiao Chen was somewhat surprised that an expert of the blue-robed emperor level in the Black Sea knew of his title as the Blue Dragon King. He nodded and said, "That is me." At this moment, the expressions of the many blue-robed emperors as they looked at Xiao Chen immediately changed. The name of the Qing Emperor went without saying. He was a legend of the previous era. Everyone had heard of him. The Thunder King was an expert of the same generation as the Qing Emperor. He was known as a living legend. The blue-robed emperors were truly blind. Who could have imagined that this outstanding young talent before them would have such a great background? Yu Bingyun narrowed her eyes slightly, smiling as she sized up Xiao Chen. She discovered that this person was becoming more and more unfathomable. He seemed to have an inexplicable charm that attracted people to get close to him. "I wonder if little brother Xiao Chen managed to gain anything from opening the heavenly eye earlier?" the black-robed old man asked politely. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "The terrain here is too complicated. It would be too difficult to find a residence in a short time. However, there are a few places to choose from. We can go and take a look. If anyone is interested, why don't you join us?" When the others heard this, they rejoiced. The black-robed, blue-robed emperor smiled and said, "Brother Xiao Chen, I am definitely making friends with you. Honestly speaking, the geomasters that we invited are not that good. The true peak geomasters of Blackwater City have all been taken away by those consummation blue-robed emperors. You have already seen the ones left for us." Xiao Chen looked at the embarrassed geomasters and smiled. "Let's go, then. If you trust this Xiao, you can follow me for a while. Those who submit to me prosper, those who oppose me die." This was not something that Xiao Chen said casually. Instead, there was such a saying in ancient geomancy. Generally speaking, dragon veins could be divided into two types. The first type was favorable, such as strong dragons, fat dragons, noble dragons, and so on. The second type was unfavorable, such as despicable dragons, thin dragons, weak dragons, and so on. Those who oppose me die. This meant that the dead were buried. The grave of the strong had to be where the unfavorable dragons were. Only then could it be chosen for future generations. On the other hand, the favorable dragons were prepared for the living. Residences were clearly places where cultivators cultivated when they were alive. Naturally, they had to be in a favorable place. Back then, when the Blood Sword Sovereign established his residence, he had definitely sought out a strong geomaster to help him search for dragon veins and determine the most suitable place to establish his residence. The group of people followed behind Xiao Chen, searching through the various dragon veins. However, the results were somewhat dispirited. Either the dragon veins were empty, or someone had already searched through them in advance. Similarly, they found nothing. After searching for 3 days, the group cleared out the area within 500 kilometers. However, there were no traces of the Blood Sword Sovereign's residence. However, there were some unexpected gains. They found the residences that other experts once cultivated in. The gains could be considered a consolation. After that, the group discovered that most of the dragon veins that Xiao Chen had taken a liking to had already been searched by others. Clearly, Xiao Chen was not the only truly skilled geomaster. After searching for 500 kilometers without finding anything, Xiao Chen's patience did not waver. This was within Xiao Chen's expectations. The western part of Blackwater Island was astonishingly large. Even so, it was still very vast. It was impossible to search it in one day. Before setting off, Xiao Chen had already made mental preparations. Everything was under his control. When the many blue-robed Emperor Geomasters following Xiao Chen saw Xiao Chen's dragon-seeking art, they all sighed in amazement. This was especially so for the places that Xiao Chen chose. Several of them had already been searched by others. This proved that Xiao Chen's insight was no weaker than that of the Geomasters that the consummation blue-robed Emperor found. Along the way, those ordinary geomasters took turns asking Xiao Chen questions about geomancy. When Xiao Chen had some free time, he answered them. Along the way, the many blue-robed emperors also asked Xiao Chen questions about martial technique. The focus was on Xiao Chen's miraculous saber Dao. Xiao Chen did not hide anything. As long as it did not touch on his core trump cards, he would patiently answer them. Hence, along the way, the atmosphere of Xiao Chen's group was very good. They even somewhat forgot about the true purpose of this trip. The other groups, searching for caves, were filled with murderous qi. When they could not find anything, they felt very frustrated. Several chaotic battles had already broken out. When Xiao Chen saw them, he kept a distance. What he hated the most were these pointless battles, which were purely for venting. However, if someone used this to harass or bully him, Xiao Chen would not show any mercy. Opening his heavenly eye again, Xiao Chen used many secret techniques and confirmed a dragon vein. Killing was a submissive dragon, and the opposite was a calamity dragon. Building a cave in the land of the dragon vein would be of great help to the master of the cave. Among the many submissive dragons, the land of the dragon vein where the dragon vein was hidden was one of the most suitable places to cultivate. After closing his heavenly eye, Xiao Chen's figure flashed as he quickly flew towards his target mountain range. The group of blue-robed emperors behind him quickly followed. These blue-robed emperors could not find stronger geomasters, nor could they brazenly follow behind some consummation blue-robed emperors. Doing so would incur the other party's dissatisfaction and invite trouble. Being able to follow behind Xiao Chen was a kind of fortune. Even more fortunate was that they had interacted with him for a long time. Only then did the blue-robed emperors discover that the quiet and seemingly cold Xiao Chen did not put on any airs. Yu Bingyun's and Xiao Chen's movement techniques were clearly of a higher grade than this group of great perfection blue-robed emperors. Hence, their flying speed was significantly faster. By the time the blue-robed emperors reached the foot of the mountain range, the large group of blue-robed emperors still had to spend some time to catch up. Not bad. No one has touched this place before. There should be hope. Yu Bingyun smiled faintly, appearing very optimistic. This was already the nth time she had said this. Xiao Chen casually formed hand seals and smiled. I hope so. As Xiao Chen executed some of the small tricks in the Paradise Secret Cannon, a crack appeared at the foot of the tall mountain. Strands of dragon qi soared into the sky, and dragon roars rang out endlessly. Based on these strands of dragon qi, Xiao Chen could determine that the spirit vein in this land of the dragon vein was the most ordinary inferior grade spirit vein. In the eyes of the blue-robed emperor, it was not even worth mentioning. Even martial sages would not care about it. As for the blood sword sovereign, it was even more disdainful. However, time passed. Just because the spirit vein was low now, it did not mean that it was low 50,000 years ago. There was still some possibility of this being a cave. Chapter 1156. Hey, someone seems to have arrived early. Just as Xiao Chen prepared to make a move, a few uninvited guests rushed over. The voices sounded somewhat familiar. Xiao Chen and Yu Bingyun turned around and saw Wang Zhen leading the three great perfection blue-robed emperors of the Xia clan in Blackwater City, as well as Xia Luo and an old man dressed as a geomaster. The one who spoke was Xia Luo, whom Xiao Chen had taught a ruthless lesson. When Xia Luo saw Xiao Chen's figure, his eyes immediately lit up. He smiled and said, "What a coincidence! Unexpectedly, I ran into you here. Consider yourself lucky. This young master has something to do now. I will not seek trouble with you for now. Quickly scram and stop being an eyesore." With Wang Zhen, a consummation blue-robed emperor, supporting him, Xia Luo did not cower at all when facing Xiao Chen. He remained arrogant, exuding an indescribable grandeur. In his heart, Xia Luo really wanted to see Xiao Chen's expression and how sullen he would be after he sent him away so easily before Yu Bingyun. Of course, if Miss Bingyun wants to stay, this young master will welcome you. Xia Luo glanced at Yu Bingyun, who was still as charming as a fairy. Then, he quickly added. The fervent look in Xia Luo's eyes was not hidden at all. When others saw it, they would feel a sense of disgust. Yu Bingyun had long since disliked this person. She did not say anything. Instead, she quietly stepped back and stood beside Xiao Chen, silently expressing her attitude. Xia Luo could not help feeling enraged. He glared at Xiao Chen and said, "White-robed brat, why are you still not scramming? Are you seeking death?" Xiao Chen sized up the newcomer. Aside from Wang Zhen, he did not care about the others. If Xiao Chen recalled correctly, this Wang Zhen had only managed to light up 3 purple gems on the testing stone steel in front of the Heavenly Cauldron Pavilion. He was far from comparable to the consummation blue-robed emperor Jin Liangqi. "Sorry, I came here first. Even if someone wants to scram, it should be you." Xiao Chen grasped the lunar shadow saber. His body was like a mountain, straight and sharp, without any fear. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. In that case, there's no need for you to leave. Elder Wang, teach him a lesson. Let him know the consequences of offending our Xia family, Xia Luo said coldly. Yu Bingyun sent a voice projection. If we work together, we should have a 70% chance of victory against this Wang Zhen. No need, I alone am enough. Before Yu Bingyun's astonished gaze, Xiao Chen stepped forward and stared at Wang Zhen. A fierce fighting spirit blazed in the depths of his eyes. Wang Zhen smiled and said, "How reckless. In the Black Sea, the strongest fist is the last word. Do you think that just because you saw this place first, it is yours? Today, I will teach you how to behave. I will beat you until you kneel and beg for mercy." Wang Zhen took a step forward, and thunder rumbled in the sky. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky, causing his aura to soar rapidly. As the descendants of the Thunder Fire Sovereign, the Xia clan's cultivators naturally cultivated lightning attribute cultivation technique. Although this Wang Zhen was an outsider, he was loyal and devoted to the Xia clan. Similarly, he had obtained the Xia clan's various secret martial technique. Amidst the thunder and lightning, Wang Zhen circulated his energy, causing his aura to soar. He looked extremely horrifying. What's going on? Why is Xiao Chen fighting with Wang Zhen? The large group of blue-robed emperors following Xiao Chen arrived late. When they discovered Wang Zhen fighting with Xiao Chen, they all revealed worried expressions. The consummation blue-robed emperor's heavenly seal had merged with his soul. He was 1 grade higher than the great perfection blue-robed emperor. Their strength was on a completely different level. How could Xiao Chen be so rash as to fight such a person? Should we go and help? This group of people had interacted with Xiao Chen for a few days. Although they were not life-and-death friends, they still had some feelings for him. Xiao Chen's magnanimity left them with a good impression. Now that they saw that Xiao Chen was in trouble, they hesitated on whether to make a move or not. After all, he was facing a consummation blue-robed emperor. They did not dare to act rashly. If they wanted to attack, they had to attack together. Only then would they have sufficient deterrence. Otherwise, going alone would not be effective. The black-clad old man, who had a relatively deep relationship with Xiao Chen, looked at Yu Bingyun, who had yet to make a move. He waved his hand and said, "Wait first." Xiao Chen made Yu Bingyun not make a move. He definitely does not want outsiders to interfere. Perhaps he is confident of dealing with Wang Zhen. That can't be right? A great perfection blue-robed emperor can defeat a consummation blue-robed emperor? The others said, expressing their disbelief. The black-clad old man had some doubts as well. However, he still said firmly, "Let's wait and see. If Xiao Chen's life is really in danger, it will not be too late for us to go. There are so many of us. If we charge over together, as long as we work together, Wang Zhen will definitely flee." Yu Bingyun and Xia Luo's group had already retreated far away. Xia Luo revealed a cruel expression as he looked at Xiao Chen. His lips curled up in a mocking smile. Boom! Another violent bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. Wang Jing took a step forward and suddenly attacked. It was unknown whether the lightning moved first or Xiao Chen's body moved first. The lightning with flames around it seemed to move at the same time as Xiao Chen. It was so fast that one could not even see its shadow. However, while Wang Zhen was fast, Xiao Chen was even faster. Wearing the fleeting shadow gloves, Xiao Chen's attack speed was 20% faster than before. Just as Wang Zhen moved his feet, Xiao Chen instantly drew the lunar shadow saber. Although Wang Zhen moved later, it arrived first, and a saber light flashed. Wang Zhen, who made the first move, ended up getting forced out by Xiao Chen. Wang Zhen moved backward, dodging that meteor-like saber light. This caused the momentum that Wang Zhen had been building up and preparing for a lightning-quick strike to come to a premature end. His momentum plummeted. Buzz! 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 The blade of the lunar shadow saber could not stop humming. Xiao Chen's clothes fluttered without any wind. His aura turned from passive to active, suppressing Wang Zhen. Such a scene only lasted for half a breath of time. However, it stunned all the cultivators watching. In the battle with the consummation blue-robed emperor, Xiao Chen actually managed to gain the upper hand so quickly. Just a moment ago, Wang Zhen's aura was flourishing and boundlessly horrifying. Now, Xiao Chen instantly suppressed him. Spring Saber, undefeatable peach blossoms. Summer Saber, burning to desolation. Autumn Saber, fated person smiles. Winter Saber, frost for 10,000 kilometers. Once Xiao Chen gained the upper hand, he would not show mercy. Xiao Chen spun his saber and thunder roared. 50 kilometers of peach blossoms appeared. Amidst the thousands of petals, he charged at Wang Zhen with his saber. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, cycle of the 4 seasons, all sorts of mysterious phenomena changed. They all turned into Xiao Chen's saber technique, surging out like an avalanche. Wang Zhen could not dodge in time. He could only take this move head-on despite his weakened momentum. Under Xiao Chen's full power, Wang Zhen was knocked back. Blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth. The many cultivators watching were somewhat astonished. The strongest force that Xiao Chen brought out was actually stronger than Wang Zhen's. As Wang Zhen retreated, his face sank. A fierce lightning-attributed flame burned on his body. With a thought, he drove a vast amount of the power of the world. Thundercloud storm. Wang Zhen shouted. Under Wang Zhen's guidance, the thunderclouds in the sky formed an incredibly horrifying flame whirlpool. Thunder roared endlessly in the flames. Wang Zhen pushed his palms forward, and this horrifying lightning-attributed flame whirlpool descended from the sky, smashing towards Xiao Chen. It was like a storm descending quickly. Space buzzed, and several tiny cracks appeared. The might of this move was easy to imagine. Wang Zhen intended to use this move to turn the situation around, to bring out his aura. Otherwise, if one's aura was always at the bottom, one would only be able to bring out 70 or 80% of one's strength. Xiao Chen felt startled. The power of the world that the consummation blue-robed emperor could drive was indeed startling. If the other party were slightly stronger, Xiao Chen would not be confident of defeating him. In Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness, His 50% comprehended saber soul and the great perfection will of thunder merged perfectly. Crackling sounds rang out as countless arcs of electricity flickered on Xiao Chen's body. He unleashed his 50% comprehended saber soul without holding back. Flawless saber Dao, flawless blue dragon, subduing dragon profound slash. Blue dragon images appeared around Xiao Chen and quickly circled him. In that instant, the dragon images roared endlessly, and dragon might spread everywhere. Xiao Chen's right hand, which held the saber, spun slightly. As the saber spun, it gathered 18 solid dragon images into it. This formed a 30-kilometer-long saber light that stretched from the sky to the ground. Amid the horrifying dragon might, the white-robed Xiao Chen chopped down with his saber. Pu Ci. The huge lightning-attributed flame whirlpool was chopped in half by Xiao Chen's saber strike. Using the 50% comprehended saber soul and the subduing dragon profound slash, Xiao Chen's burst of energy surpassed Wang Zhen's once again. The descending saber light knocked Wang Zhen back, sending him crashing miserably into a mountain peak. Ka Xie. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber, and a fiery red bright moon soared up behind him. Then, he sent a palm strike at Wang Zhen, who was 5 kilometers away. The 1,000-year flame was a palm strike filled with hot-bloodedness and lofty aspirations. It vented all the pride and arrogance in Xiao Chen's heart. This palm strike seemed to predict the future. When Wang Zhen was still 10 meters away from the ground exploded. Overwhelming shockwaves soared up and dust surged into the clouds, knocking Wang Zhen into the air. This time, Wang Zhen was significantly injured. The 1,000-year death contained the state of grief. The palm strike's energy lingered in the air, inflicting endless pain. As for the 1,000-year flame, it was purely an explosive, hot-blooded move. The power of this palm strike would erupt in an instant, clean and efficient. However, that was all. It could not break down the combat prowess of this consummation blue-robed emperor. The consummation blue-robed emperor merged his soul with the heavenly seal. The number of vital points in his body decreased, and his sage body improved. Originally, the profound martial technique that could kill the great perfection blue-robed emperor could only severely injure the consummation blue-robed emperor. Originally, it could only severely injure the consummation blue-robed emperor. With a thought, Xiao Chen materialized the blue dragon battle armor. All the vital qi in his body roared like a roaring dragon, surging endlessly in his body. Wearing the extraordinarily mighty battle armor, Xiao Chen soared into the air. With every step he took, his qi and blood surged, shaking the sky and the ground. This made one's body sway left and right, somewhat unsteady. Wang Zhen vomited a large mouthful of blood. Without even thinking, he prepared to charge at Xiao Chen again. When Wang Zhen saw Xiao Chen charging at him like a celestial deity, he was startled. However, even if Wang Zhen wanted to retreat, it was already too late. While Xiao Chen's speed looked slow, he was actually astonishingly fast. Chapter 1157. Without giving Wang Zhen any time to react, Xiao Chen tilted his body and used the blue dragon war body as a saber. Then, he materialized the flawless saber Dao and smashed Wang Zhen's chest. Wang Zhen's internal organs instantly became riddled with wounds. Every time he breathed, he felt excruciating pain. Pa! Just as Wang Zhen's body was about to fly back, Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and grabbed Wang Zhen's ankle. Then, he spun him in the air and tossed him at Xia Luo. All of Xiao Chen's movements were linked together smoothly, not pausing at all. These few moves only took 4 or 5 breaths of time. Xia Luo shrieked and quickly retreated. However, the other great perfection blue-robed emperor cultivators of the Xia clan did not dare to retreat. They worked together to catch the flying Wang Zhen. However, a loud sound rang out, and the group of great perfection blue-robed emperor cultivators fell from the sky. Xiao Chen looked coldly at the fleeing Xia Luo. Then, his figure flashed, and he descended from the sky. Xiao Chen first destroyed the other party's aura with his 50% comprehended saber soul. Then, he used his killing qi to trap Wang Zhen, preventing him from moving. Then, he stomped on Wang Zhen. Xiao Luo cried out in pain. He begged in a low voice, "One should spare people wherever it is possible. Let me off, and I promise not to seek trouble for you." When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help but find it funny. One should spare people whenever it is possible. To think that Xiao Luo could say such words. His skin was really thicker than the city walls. Scram. I don't mind you seeking trouble for me. I don't care for your promise either. However, just remember the principle of not doing the same thing more than 3 times. When Xiao Luo heard that, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly thanked Xiao Chen profusely. Many thanks for being merciful. I'll scram right now. However, before Xiao Luo could finish speaking, Xiao Chen pulled back his leg and kicked him into the starry heavens. Before Xiao Luo could even cry out, he tumbled to some unknown place. I never said to let you scram. Xiao Chen's white robes flashed. When he looked back, the remaining Xia clan cultivators were immediately frightened out of their wits, scattering in all directions. As the consummation Quasi-Emperor Zhen watched the Xia clan cultivators flee in a sorry state, Xiao Chen felt a chill run down his spine. The group of blue-robed emperors who came with Xiao Chen and were ready to help at any time were all stunned. Xiao Chen had actually defeated a great perfection blue-robed emperor. This was truly shocking. The further one went, the more difficult it would be to fight someone of a higher rank. This was especially true for the blue-robed emperor realm. The difference between a great accomplishment blue-robed emperor and a great perfection blue-robed emperor could be said to be like clouds and mud. They were not on the same level at all. Many blue-robed emperors were stuck at the advanced blue-robed emperor level for their entire lives. They were unable to break through to the perfect blue-robed emperor level because it was too difficult. However, at the same time, if one cleared this stage, their strength would advance by leaps and bounds, completely incomparable to the previous stages. As great perfection blue-robed emperors, they had been stuck at this stage for decades, even centuries. Hence, they had a deep understanding of the difference between them. Everyone had respectful expressions on their faces as they landed and asked, "Young Master Xiao, are you injured?" Xiao Chen circulated his energy and rested for a while, recovering some essence. Then, he replied calmly, "I'm fine. Young Master Xiao is truly shocking. You defeated a consummation blue-robed emperor as a great perfection blue-robed emperor. You put us old fellows to shame." When Xiao Chen heard these words of praise, he did not feel much joy in his heart. He said in a sober manner, "This is nothing. Among the consummation blue-robed emperors, this Wang Zhen is one of the weaker ones. Aside from luck, a large part of my victory was because he underestimated me." Yu Bingyan smiled faintly and said, "There is no need to be humble. Your strength is clear for all to see. There is no need to say too much. Let's see if the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave is below first, right?" Right. That is the proper matter. Right now, the scope is shrinking. Every hidden dragon has a high chance of being there. Who knows, the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave might be below, hiding the life and death art. At that time, if we take the lead, we will be able to enter before the other consummation blue-robed emperors. The group of people appeared very optimistic, chatting and laughing with great confidence. They all felt that they did not choose the wrong path by following behind Xiao Chen. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just at this moment, several figures flashed in the air, arriving around the peak that Xiao Chen had his eyes on. When the many old men clearly saw the appearance of the newcomers, their expressions changed drastically. They muttered, "Jin Liangqi's group of consummation blue-robed emperors are actually all here." Xiao Chen looked up and saw a total of 5 groups of people. The leader of each group was a consummation blue-robed emperor. Aside from Jin Liangqi, Xiao Chen did not recognize the others. However, those people were no weaker than Jin Liangqi. Jin Liangqi was a peak consummation blue-robed emperor, much stronger than the Xia clan's Wang Zhen. Just one such person would give Shao Chen a headache. With 4 or 5 of them, he would not be able to deal with them head-on. Actually, the current situation was within Shao Chen's expectations. As the search area shrank, the many blue-robed emperors searching everywhere would scatter and gather together. Shao Chen estimated that there were only about 10 remaining choices. The Blood Sword Sovereign's cave would definitely be one of these 10 hidden dragonlands. Every one of them had a high chance of being there. No one was foolish enough to just watch someone else be one step ahead of them. Shao Chen entered deep thought. Then, he left together with Yu Bingyun. Shao Chen did not want to clash head-on with these consummation blue-robed emperors. That would be too irrational. At least you are sensible. Jin Liangqi snorted coldly. After discussing with the other 4 consummation blue-robed emperors, they got the geomasters they brought to work together, executing a secret technique to split open the mountains and open the ground. Many people raised their heads in anticipation, filled with hope. However, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. The dragon concealment ground was broken through. A spirit vein source turned into a roaming dragon and flew away on the clouds. This spirit vein was only a low-ranked one. The disappointed crowd ignored it, letting it drift away. Damn it! It's another empty cave. A stout consummation blue-robed emperor in the sky could not help cursing. This person looked ferocious with a scar on his face. He carried a 9-ringed saber on his back. His name was Xin Shao. In the Blackwater Sea, Xin Shao was known as the Smiling Saber Demon. His infamy spread far and wide, and his means were extremely cruel. Upon hearing Xin Zhao's cursing, several great perfection blue-robed emperors felt some fear, not daring to say anything. Let's go. There are only 9 places left. If we search them one by one, we will eventually find them. Jin Liangqi glanced at Shao Chen casually. Then, he left with the other consummation blue-robed emperors, rushing to the next dragon vein. Young Master Shao, what should we do now? These consummation blue-robed emperors are clearly working together. The black-clad old man looked at Shao Chen somewhat anxiously. Shao Chen did not have any good ideas either. These people were not benevolent people. Clearly, they would not allow others to search for the dragon vein before them. Earlier, Shao Chen had sensed several cold killing intents at the foot of the mountain range. If someone else brought a geomaster to search for the dragon vein, they would definitely suffer the attacks of these people. If one wanted to join the other party, one needed to be at least a consummation blue-robed emperor's cultivation. Otherwise, they would not be able to get a share of the spoils for free. Either we follow them and see if we can fish in troubled waters, seeking fortuitous encounters. However, it is extremely dangerous, so we have to be mentally prepared for a massacre. Otherwise, we can give up early. You have already gained a small harvest along the way. It is not a loss. After thinking for a while, Shao Chen suggested 2 options. The group of blue-robed emperors all pondered this carefully. Most of them made up their minds. After saying goodbye to Shao Chen, they chased after the group, hoping to fish in troubled waters and find a chance of survival. Only a few people felt that there was no chance and left in advance. Although they were not satisfied, they had no other choice. No matter how tempting the life and death art was, it was not as important as their lives. If they lost their lives, how could they be Emperor Wu? Soon, only Shao Chen and Yu Bingyun were left at the foot of the vast mountain range. Yu Bingyun looked at the many great perfection blue-robed emperors in the air, and withdrew her gaze. Then, she looked at Shao Chen and asked, "What is your choice?" Shao Chen replied calmly, "You and I both have trump cards to protect ourselves. Naturally, it is the first choice. However, right now, I need to recuperate." After saying that, Shao Chen sat cross-legged on the ground and circulated the purple thunder divine incantation to recover quickly. While the earlier battle with Wang Zhen looked easy, He had actually exhausted a lot of energy. He had already drained 2/3 of his law energy. The consummation blue-robed emperor had merged his soul with the heavenly seal. His holy body was one step closer to Emperor Wu's golden body and no longer had many weak points. Xiao Chen's ability to resist damage had increased significantly. He needed to burst out with his usual attacks in the shortest time possible, crippling or injuring the other party. Otherwise, in a drawn-out battle, the one at a disadvantage would be Xiao Chen. However, there were many benefits to this battle. The most obvious was the increase in his confidence and the experience of fighting a consummation blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen thought about how Ling Xiaofan had led a consummation blue-robed emperor from the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace and beaten him to the point where he could not retaliate. Even when Xiao Chen used Neptune's crown, he had only managed to defeat the other party through trickery. Now, Xiao Chen relied on his own strength to defeat a consummation blue-robed emperor head-on, forcing the other party to flee. 4 hours later, as the purple thunder divine incantation circulated frantically, Xiao Chen's law energy recovered to its original state, returning him to his peak. His sharp aura was even stronger. The reserved tyranny in his eyes startled Yu Bingyun slightly. Yu Bingyun could not help comparing Xiao Chen to the young treasure master, Yi Ling, who hid himself the deepest in the heavenly starry ocean. Right now, Xiao Chen probably did not know that his actions in the Four Seas Hero Gathering had severely damaged the luck of the surrounding outstanding talents, helping Yi Ling greatly. This allowed Yi Ling to dominate the heavenly starry ocean, providing him with great convenience and establishing a difficult opponent for Yu Bingyun. Let me see how far they have progressed. Xiao Chen stood up and flew to the top of a 30-kilometer-tall mountain peak. Then, he opened his heavenly eye and looked into the distance. Immediately, he saw everything within 500 kilometers. Every flower, every tree, every blade of grass, every tree, every insect, bird, beast, mountain, river, everything appeared. Nothing could escape Xiao Chen's heavenly eye. Suddenly, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He felt a strong gaze on him. It seemed to have discovered his gaze, so he quickly closed his heavenly eye. However, it was already too late. That expert's gaze contained the other party's cold and emotionless sword intent. Blood appeared on Xiao Chen's forehead. Chapter 1158. The expression of Yu Bingyun, who flew up as well, changed. Then, she quickly helped the staggering Xiao Chen up. What's going on? Xiao Chen's expression turned somewhat unsightly. After he calmed himself, his complexion flushed red. He frowned and said, "There is a half-step Emperor Wu in closed-door cultivation in the hidden Dragonlands. It will be even more difficult to obtain the life and death art." In the western part of Blackwater Island, on a majestic snowy mountain that was extremely close to the border, a middle-aged man radiating sword intent sat cross-legged at the summit of the tallest mountain. A bone-chilling cold wind blew, and a snowstorm raged endlessly. Despite the harsh environment, the hemp-robed swordsman's expression remained the same. The ice and snow that fell on him did not melt or accumulate. Instead, they flowed down like water, flowing naturally and mysteriously. This snowy mountain was the tallest mountain in the entire Blackwater Island. The temperature at the summit was negative hundreds of degrees Celsius all year round. Aside from some horrifying spirit beasts that lived on ice and snow, there was nothing else that attracted people. Under normal circumstances, no one would come here to suffer for no reason. Of course, some cultivators who cultivated ice-attributed states were an exception, such as this hemp-robed swordsman, who had been in seclusion for 100 years. The hemp-robed swordsman looked into the distance, and his lips curled up in a cold smile. He said indifferently, "Your reaction is pretty good. You managed to save your eyes." If Xiao Chen had guessed right, this hemp-robed swordsman was the mysterious half-step Emperor Wu who injured Xiao Chen's heavenly eye with just one gaze. "You should rejoice that you saw me 100 years later. If it were 100 years ago, it would not have been so simple to pry into my seclusion. The hemp-robe snorted coldly and closed his eyes again. Then, he continued to cultivate at the summit, comprehending the peak of the ice-sword soul. However, he didn't close his eyes for long before he opened them again. This time, it could be seen that when he opened his eyes, there was a strange light in them. This time, his eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty killing intent. A cold aura spread out from his body, causing the wind and snow to freeze. The entire scene suddenly froze. Ka, 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 ka. The instant the hemp-robed swordsman stood up, the snowflakes filling the air exploded, shattered by countless sword intents. There's really no end to this. 100 years have passed. Have the people of Blackwater Island forgotten my name, Bing Xuejian? He sensed that many people were flying over the entire snowy mountain range, and there were still people coming in an endless stream. All of them were at the blue-robed emperor level of cultivation. The ones who had come were naturally the group of great perfection blue-robed emperors represented by Jin Liangqi and the smiling saber demon. Behind them were hundreds and thousands of great perfection and small perfection blue-robed emperors who wanted to fish in troubled waters. The life and death art could condense a heart of an emperor in advance, making these blue-robed emperors willing to risk their lives to come and fight for their lives. Jin Liangqi and the rest traveled over land and water before finally arriving at the foot of the snowy mountain. Looking at the peak that pierced through the clouds, he said, "The western part of Blackwater Island. This is the last hidden dragon land. The blood-sword sovereign's dwelling from 50,000 years ago must be in there." The smiling saber demon, Shen Shao, grinned and said, "What are we waiting for? Let's make our move. It will not be easy. A massacre happened here 100 years ago. A mysterious swordsman killed all the ice-attributed cultivators cultivating in seclusion in the entire mountain range. I wonder if they are still here," a rather old man said. An old man said, "This person was called Old Tai because of his body refinement technique, causing his body to be as tough as an iron wall. After advancing to consummation blue-robed emperor, he became even more difficult to deal with, earning him the nickname Old Iron." That's right. I still remember that massacre even to this day. It seems to be the Ice Sword Sovereign's first disciple, Bing Xuejian, who betrayed his sect, another old man said. Jin Liangqi said after some thought, 100 years have passed, and there has been no news of this person. He probably left already. Even if he is still here, with so many of us, we might not be afraid of him. That's right. Even if he is here, we have to kill him back. Does he really think that he is the king of this snowy mountain? The smiling saber demon said with a sinister expression. The temptation of the life and death art was too great. The few consummation blue-robed emperors discussed it for a while and decided to make a move. The 5 geomasters listened to the orders and immediately executed their dragon-seeking arts, preparing to attack the hidden dragons. 10 kilometers away, Fei Lingyi, who was hidden in the wind and snow, entered deep thought as he looked at the snowy mountain. He said softly, "To think that the Blood-Sword Sovereign's cave is here. It looks like it is impossible to obtain the secret technique alone. However, this is fine as well. If I work with Bing Xuejian, I will be more confident of dealing with this group of people. If I use the jadeite, I can destroy this Bing Xuejian alone. In the end, the life and death art will still be grasped by one person." Fei Lingyi had been secretly paying attention to the movements of the life and death art. After he recovered from his injuries, he came out of closed-door cultivation and followed behind this group of treasure-seekers. Fei Lingyi had failed his tribulation once. Without any special fortuitous encounter, he would never be able to advance to martial emperor in this lifetime. This blood-sword sovereign's life and death art was his fortuitous encounter. He wanted the life and death art more than anyone else. As the geomasters made their move, strands of dragon chi surged out of the ground. Everyone knew that this was already the last hidden dragon ground in the vast western region. As the blue-robed emperor watched the soaring dragon Qi, he became very nervous. However, just at this extremely tense moment, a scarlet sword light silently appeared in the snow, filling the air. Before the 5 geomasters could react, this sword light chopped off their heads. Who is it? The expressions of Jin Liangqi and the others changed drastically as they retreated. They instantly raised their guard and released their auras, showing anxious expressions. This strand of sword Qi was too strange. Unexpectedly, it managed to silently kill 5 geomasters right before their eyes. Even if this person was not a half-step Emperor Wu, he was still stronger than them. Such a scene sent a chill down the backs of the blue-robed emperor, who was preparing to fish in troubled waters, feeling some lingering fear. Since you know my name, you still dare to come and send yourselves to death. You are all extraordinarily bold. A figure slowly appeared in the wind and snow. When the silhouette became clear, this figure took one step and arrived before Jin Liangqi and the others. Bing Xuejian. Jin Liangqi and the others immediately felt their scalps go numb. Unexpectedly, at the final step, they still ran into the person they did not want to see the most. The smiling saber demon showed an anxious expression. Although he said that he would press forward courageously, he did not have much confidence when facing this Bing Xuejian. With the 5 working together, they actually had a 50-50 chance of victory against Bing Xuejian. However, the 5 of them were not kind people. They did not trust each other, making it hard for them to work together. If they really fought, they would definitely be defeated and flee. Some of them might even lose their lives. Jin Liangqi was rather calm. He said sullenly, "Senior is too serious. If we knew that Senior was here, we would not have dared to be rash." "In that case, Scram," Bing Xuejian interrupted coldly. The 5 showed unsightly expressions. Jin Liangqi suppressed the rage in his heart and said, "We have conclusive evidence that a Saber Emperor's cave is hidden at the foot of this mountain range. The treasures in there are of some use to us. However, they are of no help to a swordsman like Senior." "Ah, Jin Liangqi, don't you blush when you lie?" Amid loud laughter, Fei Lingyi gave off a boundless aura, sending the wind and snow flying everywhere. He moved 1 kilometer with each step, arriving before the group in 10 steps. Bing Xuejian, the cave where the legendary blood sword sovereign once cultivated, is hidden at the foot of this mountain range. The life and death art is probably in there. You are also someone who failed the great tribulation of wind and fire. How could the life and death art be useless to you? Fei Lingyi smiled widely, feeling very pleased with himself. The sorrow from that day no longer showed on his face. Now, he regained his former arrogance and tyranny. The moment Fei Lingyi spoke, he did not show any mercy, exposing Jin Liangqi and the others. Jin Liangqi and the others looked at Fei Lingyi, gritting their teeth in hatred. However, they could not do anything about it. They could only curse at Fei Lingyi. Fei Lingyi did not even look at Jin Liangqi and the others. He continued, "How about it? Are you interested in coming with me to explore this blood sword sovereign's cave? The 2 of us can be considered to be in the same boat, able to ascend to martial emperor together." "Naturally, I am interested," Bing Xuejian said indifferently. Fei Lingyi laughed loudly, and he unleashed the aura of a half-step Emperor Wu. "Good. In that case, work with me and get rid of these flies first." The moment Fei Lingyi said that, he immediately caused a huge commotion. Panic spread everywhere. Even if everyone knew that Bing Xuejian was here, they would not be so panicked. 1 half-step Emperor Wu would not be able to slaughter everyone here. However, 2 half-step Emperor Wu working together would be more than enough to chase them all away. Jin Liangqi and the others felt dissatisfied. They looked at Bing Xuejian with a final trace of hope. Although they felt that hope was slim, they still hoped for a chance to turn things around. Fei Lingyi appeared very confident. He had interacted with Bing Xuejian before and knew what kind of person he was. He would definitely agree to his request. However, unexpectedly, the hemp-robed swordsman smiled coldly and said, "Fei Lingyi, you seem to be mistaken. I am definitely interested in the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave. However, I have no interest in working with you. How could I not know what you are planning?" Fei Lingyi's expression turned cold as he said, "Bing Xuejian, are you out of your mind?" Jin Liangqi heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he took the opportunity to smile and say, "Manor Lord, don't overthink. Everyone knows that you have the jadeite. Without us restraining him, Senior Bing Xuejian would not be a match for you. In the end, you would still obtain the life and death art." "That's right. Given your tyrannical character, you absolutely would not think of sharing the life and death art. In your heart, you believe that it belongs to you," the smiling saber demon said at the same time. Bing Xuejian did not say anything. Clearly, he agreed with what these people said. The sudden reversal of the situation ruined Fei Lingyi's plan. "Manor Lord Fei, actually, there is no need to be so exclusive. Everyone obtained the life and death art together. Wouldn't it be better to share it? Furthermore, we do not know what dangers there are in the Blood Sword Sovereign's cave. Before we enter, we are already panicking. That is not a good sign." The older Old Tai acted as a mediator, advising at an appropriate time. Indeed, the Blood Sword Sovereign was a demon mixed blood. He was terrifyingly strong, known as the most dazzling legendary martial emperor of the Black Sea. The Blood Sword Sovereign's cave would not be smooth sailing. There would definitely be many unknown dangers.